Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the live stream of the Pan American Cross Country Cup for 2020. Coming to you live on CBC Sports and Czech News on YouTube. My name's Graham Cox. I will be your host. Join with me in the booth, Paul O'Callaghan. And we are in for a treat today here, coming from the lovely Bear Mountain Resort in Langford, the city of Langford on Vancouver Island, all the way over on the west coast of Canada, our little corner of the world. And Paul, yesterday evening we had the west coast rainstorm of the century. It was pouring down into the evening. The course, we had no idea what was going to happen, but today the sun came out and it is fantastic. It is an absolutely beautiful day here at Bear Mountain, and we are looking at something special. Can you tell me about what we're looking at with this course?
Well, the course is absolutely world class. I've spoken to some of the team managers and athletes, and this is a purist cross country course. It's got great undulations, it's got firm footing, there's some muddy parts as well, there's some sand pits to run through, and the elevation is just superb as well. It's very difficult to get this sort of elevation in a cross-country course. It actually drops down to about 40 meters, and each lap will give you a total of 120 meters. So for those running 10 kilometers today, they're going to be in for a really challenging, hilly course, but cross-country runners thrive on that. That's what they want. You know, we've moved away and we're moving back to the more historical cross-country courses. For a few years, they were looking for dead flat courses. Now the IAAF, which is the world governing body, are encouraging athletic bodies around the world to look for more challenging courses. And in fact, last year in the World Cross Country Championships in Denmark, they had them running up on a roof of a museum. So they had a 45-degree roof, and they actually ran up the roof, and they did a 180-degree turn and ran back down. So they're trying to be creative. But we don't have to be creative here because we've got nature's best right in front of us.
So what you're telling me is, we have athletes flying in from 12 different countries, from all over the world, very different backgrounds. They land here, they show up to this grueling course, and for many who would say grueling, that's not a fun thing, but they're going to be coming in smiling when they see this.
They will love this. You know, they're probably disappointed it's sunny today because cross-country runners, they love the not just the terrain, but whatever the elements can throw at them. I remember myself, I competed in the 1992 World Cross Country Championships in Boston, and the course was snowy. It was -5 degrees with the wind chill of -20. And the Africans were huddled under a blanket, and the experts said the Africans will struggle today. They came out of their blankets and they ran away with every single title on the day.
Of course they did. Now here, today's course, we're going to have a couple different races. We've got the U20s, both men's and women's. We've got a kids run we'll be broadcasting as well. And then, of course, the main event, the elites, a little bit later on in the cast coming up. So we'll be covering all of those here from our media booth here at Bear Mountain. And right now on the course, what do we have here, Paul?
So we have the first race of the day. So this is the ladies under 20s. So these athletes would have run in their national championships to qualify for this event. For Canada, we had our national championships back in November in Abbotsford. So we've got athletes that would have flown in to run in Abbotsford to qualify for this. So for a lot of these ladies, these young ladies here, this is the climax of their cross-country season now. This is the pinnacle. This is what they've been aiming for the winter. Same with all the nations that have flown in today. So the likes of Brazil and Peru and Bahamas and Trinidad and Tobago. They've gone through their national championships, they've qualified. So these are the best athletes from each of those 12 countries, and they'll put on a good race today. And you can see from from the start so far, because it's such a really tough course, I would imagine they've gone off fairly steady. You can see that the pack is fairly well bunched. We'll get a good shot of that hopefully in a minute. But there won't be anyone trying to do anything maverick and breakaway.
Now, I mean, just on that note, I want to shout out a couple island nations showing up, as you mentioned, Bahamas, Trinidad, Tobago. We've got 12 total countries from all over the world. But here we just saw a community run, so some more local people take the course first, and you could see there was some pain, there was some struggle, there were some walkers, because the elevation isn't easy. So first question to you is, when you look at this pack here starting out, they haven't run this course yet. They've just come in maybe last night, maybe a little earlier in this week. This is a golf course, so this is their first exposure to this specific course. What is the strategy going in? How do you want to approach this
So you can see, looking at the lead bunch there, no one's making a break for it, because they would have warmed up on the course yesterday. The course was put up yesterday, and they would have been out as a team. They would have run on it as a warm-up. They would have discussed tactics with their team managers, but that is no substitute for racing. So although they would know about the elevations and the undulations, they won't know what the intensity like until they start racing. And they'll be taking the first lap easy, just to get to know what each of the sections are like, especially this big hill that's coming up towards the finish area very shortly. So then I would imagine once we get through to about halfway, then we'll see some athletes that have a bit more confidence, that would have held something back, then they'll start making some pushes to get on the podium.
Now, I mean, I should have mentioned off the top of the cast, and I didn't, but Paul, you've got quite the list of credentials here. You've had a very, very long running career in cross country, all over the place. You're an Irish world record holder. You've been to the Olympic Games, so you've been around this and you've seen it. And one thing you mentioned to me right before we started, which I thought was interesting, is this course ends with a hill, and you said some people like to hold back and wait, but that might not be the strategy today.
No, I think the strategy will be, first of all, to get to know the course. So use the first. These young ladies are running 8 kilometres, so I would imagine they'll use the first 2 laps just to get a little feel for each other as well, because it's not just about the course. We mustn't forget this is an actual race. This isn't a race against the course, this is a race against each other. So although they're trying to get to know the course, they'll also be listening out for each other as well. They'll be focusing in on each other's breathing. You can learn a lot from just listening to other athletes as well. To us it looks like they're just running, but there's actually a lot of mental games going on as well. And the young ladies at the back, they're hanging on, but the first 4 or 5 who are spearheading the race, they'll be listening to each other. They'll be putting in little markers, little challenges. They'll be accelerating up the hills to see who goes with them. Then they'll back off and they'll let the pack come back together. But it really is all about strategy in the first 2 laps.
Of course, and when we get to those elite runners a little bit later, they're people who have been around the block and they know all that. They've been to several of these events and races. But as a U20, there's some of these people, 18, 19. Very first time on the course here, and I'm just getting word here, the cameras are showing we do have an injured Canadian athlete on the course. Our medical team is attending to that. We will get you a bib number and an update on that here a little bit later as it comes in. Not too sure what happened there, but hopefully that runner is okay.
And that's part and parcel of cross country and as well, It's all about getting the warm-up right as well. Maybe she came in carrying a slight muscle injury, who knows? But we'll get some feedback on that a little bit later on from the medics there.
Would the rain from last night possibly create difficulties on that with the softer ground?
I really don't think so. All the athletes are wearing 9 or 12 mil spikes. So the spikes will give them good grip, good firm grip. The course is actually quite firm. I know we had a lot of rain last night, but because it's not a used course, this is the second race of the day on this course, and we can see just how firm it is. There is a little bit of a squashy bit way down on the elevation there, 40 meters below. But honestly, the course is absolutely in first class rate. It's a fantastic course, and it's actually a fast course as well. I was speaking to the winner of the first race of the day, the community race, and he actually ran his fastest K in 3:14, which is really good going on a course that's got so many undulations. So that tells me it's a fast course. When we get onto the elite races later on, I'm expecting to see some of those kilometer splits under 3 minutes quite easily.
Wow, and that's very, very impressive. And one thing I was going to sort of mention there before the injury is just when you're a young runner like these girls on the course right now, we're going to have the U20 men following this race, but When you come to an event like this, a world-class event, you're looking up at some of these elite runners that you're now at the same event. You're not racing against them, but you're around them. Can you get a little starstruck? You know, does that play into this? The nerves, the excitement, that sort of energy of being here?
I think for the most, because they travel together. So the juniors, you know, when I was a junior, I was lucky. I was on a really strong Irish team. We had an Olympic silver medalist on the team. We had a world track 5,000 meter champion on the team. We had world indoor medalists on the team, and it's up to the seniors to be your mentors. And I think that's what, you know, the sport itself is all about giving back. Even the top seniors will give back to the juniors. And, you know, the seniors remember when they were juniors themselves. So it's their job and the juniors' job as well to learn from the seniors and not be overawed by them, but to learn from them. And yes, sometimes you can be a bit overawed. I remember myself being starstruck on first meeting, but as soon as you get to know everyone, it's great.
Now we've got a little bit of a lead pack breaking away here with these front three runners taking a couple strides ahead of the rest of the pack here. I believe there is a Canadian runner, an American runner, and one from Puerto Rico. We're just going to take a look at those bib numbers to see who is pulling away once we get back to that lead pack. But that group that's starting to separate now, are they going to look to keep pushing that pace and make that separation further, or what's the difference if you're in fourth? Are you going to try to catch up to that pack?
Well, you can see the three young ladies there now. They've got a really good cadence going on, and they're leaning into the hill, and then they're making a move to break away. And this is a significant move, and we're coming up to probably the halfway stage in the race. What, we're 11 minutes into the race. So yeah, we can see on the clock they're coming just up past 10-minute mark. So this is a significant move, and usually they've run their first lap. They're not going to be slowing down. They'll be keeping this pace high now. And and when gaps appear this early in the race, usually they stay away as well. So this is a good move on their behalf.
Now the total course is 2 kilometers. It is a loop, and as the U20s, they'll be running 6 kilometers, the women here. So they'll be doing 3 total loops before coming into the finish line here where we are and our media booth is set up. So this race will come finish right in front of us here, and I believe the distances get longer as the day goes on. More loops added, that means more elevation, more pain and gain for all these runners out here.
And that's all. It's all about rhythm and relaxation on this course, and you can see those runners there are looking very smooth and very strong. We've got Canada, US, and Puerto Rico, I believe. So our top 3 ladies, they'll be working with each other as well. Once they get into this stage of the race, they know. You know, they won't be thinking too much. They won't be looking behind. They won't be looking at any athletes behind. They'll be making their moves themselves. And you can see here a really good gap in that 4th place lady just trying to hang on now. That's a really tricky position to be in. She is isolated in 4th. Our 5th place runner is also isolated. So they'll be working really hard to try and stay with this relentless pace now being set at the front.
Yeah, it is Canada and the U.S. going neck and neck there in 1-2, and bringing up in 3rd place there. That is Jennifer Melker of Puerto Rico there, wearing bib number 107. And I can't get a read here with the glare. It's hard to see our monitors on those bibs for Canada and the USA. So we'll get you a name here of those 2 front runners. But it looks like they are pulling away from Jennifer there, and the USA and the Canadian runner are 1-2 leading that race.
And that's a big gap as well. You know, these 4 now, they'll be fighting for the podium. And when you're in 4th place, you're so close to the podium that you'll be fighting all the way, because only 3 of these will be on the podium at the end of the day, the 1, 2, and 3. And you can see Canada and US be pushing the pace at the front and doing a great job as well. And what a great course it is. I must stress that this is a real purist cross-country course, and these girls will be absolutely loving this. You know, it's a break of rhythm, which they really enjoy as well. And it really is a course for the strength athletes.
So tell me, Paul, with as a U20 runner here at this event, what does this race mean for the career of these women?
Well, as I said, this is a pinnacle for the winter season, so this is fantastic. And they've qualified through their national championships to be here, so they're the best in their age group in their country. But this is also a stepping stone as well. You know, they'll be watching the senior men's and senior races a little bit later on, and they'll see in that race athletes that have represented their countries at the Olympic Games, at the World Championships, and they'll be thinking, well, that could be me next. So they'll be using this as motivation and inspiration to try to bridge that level. And I must say and stress the hardest thing to do as a junior athlete is to break through into the senior ranks. And it really is important that not only do they race well at this level, but they get the right coaching, the right guidance, and the right progression. Because there's a big, there's a big difference between overtraining and undertraining. I'd rather an athlete undertrains at this age than overtrains.
Well, I can tell you what, I undertrain for almost everything that I do, and it seems to work out so far.
Well, it's all about longevity as well.
Exactly.
But you can see they're pushing into the hill again. It's a really tough course.
This is just the pain on that final hill up this loop is, you can see it on the faces here now that we're into a couple laps.
And you can also see it on the strides as well. You notice when they get onto the hilly sections, the stride shortens, which is what they should be doing. So they've got the right technique. The arms lift up a little bit more and they push back with their elbows. So that's the way to attack these hills. It's all about faster cadence on the hills. You want to shorten that stride so you're not overstriding, because that will just slow you down. So they're doing the right things. Those two front runners have got the technique just right. And here we come to the really tough section now. You'll see what I mean by there we go. The arms are lifting, the stride is shortening. There's a little bit of a gap appearing now. We'll just get a number on that.
That is the American runner in the 99 bib. That's Brooke Rauber, who's taking a little bit of a lead over the Canadian runner in the 89 bib, which is Sadie Sigstead.
So Sadie, that's a great run from Sadie. She's the Edmonton athlete. So these will be completely different conditions here in Victoria compared to Edmonton. But she did really well. She was third in the National Cross Country Championships in Abbotsford. So she's been out to BC before. She qualified as the third place finisher in the U20 race. So she's having a great race to be running in second place. She was, as I say, she got on the podium at the National, so good for her. So good run in there from Sadie, who's holding on to second. But
it looks like Brooke's taking the lead.
Yeah, that's a really good gap now. Look at the cadence now. She drops down the hill. The pace is really picking up now. But this race isn't over yet. When you've got a gap like that, what you do as a second place athlete is not look behind, and all you do is focus on that athlete in front. So she'll be staring ahead at Brooke, wearing that USA singlet, who looks very strong as well. Good strong shoulders there as well. She looks like she's in good condition, good shape. So nice run in there from Brooke Rauber.
She's extending that lead there. Sadie's gonna need to keep up as Brooke takes about 10 stride lead over the second place position here. And now the other thing I was curious about with all these athletes traveling in, different time zones, different countries, travel can affect your body. When would you want to come in to a city before a race? How many days? When do you want to give your body the adjustment here?
Probably, for some of these athletes, I think 3 or 4 days. I'd imagine they were here on maybe Wednesday or Thursday. Not only just to get to know the course, but just to come and rest as well, because they've done their training this week. Because this is a major championship, there would have been tapering as well. So by that I mean what they would do is they would, over the last 2 weeks, their training would start detensifying. They would have put in a really big spell of training in January and up to mid-February. Then over the last 2 weeks, just increase maybe some of the speed endurance work, decrease the volume. So by the time they get to race day, they're nice and fresh. They're ready for the race itself. The worst thing you can do is come into these races training too hard in the week leading up to it. And sometimes athletes do that. They panic a little bit and they think they have to get in one more workout, one more session, just to give themselves affirmation that they're in good shape. And that's the biggest mistake some of them make. But if you taper, you want to leave your best racing in the race. You don't want to leave your best form in the training. No one looks at your training sessions. Your training sessions you're not getting a medal for what you do in training, you get your medals for what you do in the race. So tapering is really important.
Now, I mean, speaking of training sessions, obviously there are coaches here on hand for teams and individual athletes. On a course like this, it's a loop that has hills, as you start to extend into the lead pack, where would your coach want to stand? Where would you want to get the information as you run around?
This is a fantastic event. Look, we're in a bowl here, which is absolutely amazing. You can stand at the highest point of the course if you want to, as a spectator, and see everything. As a coach, myself, if I was coaching any of these races, I would actually be down further at the lowest point of the course, because that's where it's going to be quietest. That's where the athletes could lose a bit of focus and motivation. and they think they could switch off because of the out of the eyesight of all the spectators. And that it's down there you want to be encouraging your athletes to really work hard on the hardest part of the course. You know, make no mistake, that is the toughest part of the course down there. As they come and sweep round and attack the hills. If you're a coach, you're going to be down there encouraging your athletes.
Well, and just moments ago, our camera showed you the group of women going through the sand trap here on the golf course because nothing is off territory for cross country. Sand, greens, fairways, you got it all on this golf course, and of course those hills as we get a good shot there of the two front runners back stride for stride there. Brooke Rauber from USA, and of course Sadie Sigstead from Canada.
And we're getting into the business end of the race now. We're coming into the 19-minute mark, so these two girls, and actually for the American athlete who's doing really well, Brooke Rauber, this is her first international competition. She won the USA Championships to qualify for this meet, so she's used to winning. You know, to win the US title as a U20 athlete is a big thing. It's, you know, a lot of the top American athletes would have followed that same pathway. So for her to win it, that would have gave her loads of confidence, and that's why she's running so well at the front. But to be running like that in your first competition shows how confident she is. But Sadie Sigstead, I mentioned earlier, she was focused on trying to close that gap, but we can see now Brooke making that move again, and you see this so often in cross country. It's so different to the track. On the track, once you make a move, once you make a break, most of the time it will work and you'll stay away. But on cross country, because of the difference in undulations, some athletes are stronger going up the hill, some athletes are stronger going down the hill. Brooke is making the move all the way. We can see Sadie, who's yo-yoing a bit off the back and off the front. So she's obviously at a section of the course now where she's struggling a little bit, or Brooke's feeling stronger. But the race still isn't over. We're past 20 minutes mark. This race is not over. These are still fighting for the Pan Am title.
Now it'll be interesting to see if the energy that Sadie did to make up that gap a little bit earlier in this lap is going to haunt her on this final hill when that grueling climb to the finish line kicks in here as we hit the 20-minute mark of this race. These girls have been running there now 20 straight minutes here, and this is the time. This will be this final stretch that will indicate the winner. It looks very much to be a two-horse race at this point in time.
It does, and I think they're well clear of third place. So there we have Sadie Sigstead from Edmonton, who was third in the Canadian Nationals. So she's running out of her skin right now in second place, and she's challenging the USA national champion in the U20 category. But that gap now is beginning to open, and it's a significant gap now. And we're coming up to the climax of this race, and Brooke Rauber is making a big move to win the first title of the day in this Pan Am Championship here at Bear Mountain.
And Brooke Rauber looking very, very strong here. Looks like she's got a second boost of energy here to take a few stride lead over Sadie as they come into this final stretch. They are now in view of our media tent here. You're going to start to hear those cheering crowds, and this will be it for Brooke Rauber as she starts to look strong towards this finish line.
And just look at the way she's moving up that hill again. So the arms are lifting up and the cadence is increasing, the stride is shortening, and that's what you have to do to attack these hills. It's the way you get up the hills more efficiently. If you try and keep your same stride that you would on the flat, actually that will just slow you down. But what a big move. This race is still really exciting. We've got our 1 and 2 away, USA from Canada. So a great start to the Pan Am Championships for the Canadian team as well. We're going to get an athlete on the podium in the first race, and Canada do really well on home soil as well in the team race. We mustn't forget as well, although of course the athletes are running individually, each race also has a team element to it as well. So it's really important for the athletes further down the field in 6th, 7th, 8th, even outside the top 10, to fight for every single place.
That's right, and although we've been focused on these front two runners, of course, there is still that third place podium finish to be had, and it looked like there was a decent little pack there, so that third spot could be very much up for grabs with any of these athletes as we see Brooke pushing hard towards the finish line, extending that lead for Team USA, and this one looks like it's going to go to Rauber.
And Rauber looks really strong. Her arms are up and she's coming into the finishing straight now. And look at that now for the sprint finish, coming into the finishing straight. Brooke Rauber taking that first place finish in a time of 23:14 for that 6K course.
There she goes, all smiles there for Brooke, and coming in second to finish with the silver medal there for Canada, Sadie Sigstead.
So imagine you're Sadie and you finish third in the Canadian Championships. You don't think at that stage you're going to medal in the Pan Am Championships. You think you can be a scorer for Team Canada, which will be fantastic in itself. But to go from third in the Canadian Championships to second in the Pan Ams, that is a big step up. Well done,
incredible.
Sadie.
So big race for those two. And as you were saying, again, this is anything can happen here, but this is the premier event of the season this year with no World Championships. So winning this and coming, this is a big deal. This isn't just a one-off race, this is it.
It is, and it's a great way to finish the season as well. And what a great venue we have to finish the season with as well. But these athletes will be delighted. We've taken a medal in this championship, and even, for all the athletes who are representing their country, this is the pinnacle of the season. They'll be delighted, and it's actually getting very warm out here now, which is really nice as well. So the course will be drying up a little bit, but this will be a good stepping stone. Some of them might go on to the indoor season now, run some indoor races before they start preparing for the outdoor track and field season, which is, of course, it's the Olympic year as well, Tokyo 2020.
What is his name again? The interview. And in just a moment, we will actually have Brooke at the finish line, and so we'll throw in and get an interview with Brooke here in a moment. Hear from her, hear her excitement. But first, we just want to throw up a quick sponsor board and give a thank you to some of our premier sponsors here, making all of this happen here on CBC Sports and Czech News. Big shout out to those sponsors you can see on your screen now. Making, like I say, this event happen. A lot of effort goes in behind the scenes to put on something like this, a Pan American Cross Country Cup. The race course, the venues, the people involved, the volunteers, and of course, all of those sponsors you can see there. So big shout out to that. And we wouldn't be here without them. We wouldn't have people listening to our lovely voices all day, coming into their homes all across those 12 countries and maybe beyond. Maybe we have some fans in other places
well,
too.
I know for a fact that we have a viewer in Dublin who's got close connections to Victoria. In fact, his uncle was the Vanoc chief executive, John Furlong. You might remember that from the 2010 Olympics. So Michael McDermott, who's sitting in Blackrock in Dublin, is watching this coverage with interest. Hi Michael, I hope you're doing really well and enjoying the coverage here from Bear Mountain. I know you've run around here yourself. It's a great place to run, as you know.
And let's be honest, when I say fans, they're fans of you, and I'm just lumping myself into that. Nobody's tuning into this broadcast for me, let's be honest.
Everyone's a fan of the sport, and that's why they're tuning in.
Yeah, that's great. It's a lot of fun to be here and be a part of it. And now I myself am not a cross-country guy. I did track back in high school, but learning the ropes here from you as we go along, and I can admire what these athletes have done. It's a very impressive, very tough sport to do here, and I know the cross-country athletes that I grew up knowing, you don't really know. They say you don't know until you've tried it. You really can't appreciate it until you've tried something like a hill that might look quite small to us from the view, but how tough it is.
Yeah, cross-country it's a great training. It's not just about racing as well. I know a lot of track athletes use cross-country as preparation because it gives you so much strength as well. And even in the winter, if they're not racing cross-country, they're training cross-country. So the local athletes around here in Victoria, they'll go over to the Wonder Future Rec Centre where that's a really hilly course as well. They'll come up here to Mount Finlayson. They'll go over to Mount Doug Park as well, where there's fantastic hills. So, right now the Team Canada coach, Hilary Stillingworth, who was an Olympian in London, she uses Mount Doug, or she used to use when she was an athlete for strength training. She was a 1,500 meter track runner.
Yeah. Well, now as we sounds good. As we had just gotten word here from our booth, our interview is ready to go. So let's throw it down to Chris Kelsog, who's standing by at the finish line with Brooke Rauber, Team USA winner of this first race. Chris, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm here with Brooke Rauber from just outside of Syracuse, New York, who just won the 2020 Pan Am Cross Country Cup U20. Youth, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
How does that sound to you, 2020 Pan Am Cross Country Cup gold medalist?
It's unbelievable. It just still hit me. I'm just so proud of all my Team USA, and I want to thank like my coaches and my friends back at home too.
One of your coaches is here, and that's your mom. She was cheering you on, as was your dad, of course. What does that mean to you to have your parents there cheering you on up here in Canada?
It means so much. They're always so supportive of me, and I just couldn't thank them enough.
You're just 17 years of age. This is a U20 race. You're up against some 18 and 19-year-olds. Talk about your fitness. You started running in grade 7. Is this a life focus for you? You're going to go to university perhaps with a scholarship, do you think?
Yeah, I definitely want to run D1 in college and hopefully continue that after that. But yeah, I just have felt so fit. During indoor, I'm also training for the 1500, which is I'm running it at States next week. So I've just been trying to balance both cross country and track.
High school States, and so what is your personal record in the 1500?
In 1500, I've run 4:28.
Well, that's very solid for your age. Wow, good for you.
Thank you.
So talk about this course. You got that diabolical hill that you've had to ascend 3 times in the 6K race. Talk about you were in second place for a while there, and were you just holding back and just seeing where your fitness is with the hill and that?
Yeah, we've been working on a lot of hills, so I was kind of prepared for this, especially because I run in New York. I think that hills are really my strong suit, so this was a good, challenging course. I think it really showed who's ready. This is real cross country, that's just for sure. Yeah, so I was in second most of the race. I was just kind of seeing how I felt. I knew that the Canadian was super good and super fit, and I think Sadie's her name. Yeah, I was aware of her, and she's a amazing competitor, and she's so good too. So I was just waiting and feeling out the race as it went along.
Yeah, that was a legit win because Sadie Sigstad, who finished second to you, is a silver medalist at our nationals, so it's a very solid runner. So that was a great race on your part. So talk about the venue and the city. You're a visitor here, obviously. What is your first impression of Victoria and Langford, BC?
Yeah, it's just so beautiful. I love everything about it. Like the nature and everything is just so pretty, and this is like a perfect spot to run. Like we may be dying, but at least we're dying in a pretty place. So yeah.
All right, and then let's just quickly talk about university. The universities have been talking to you since September. Have you narrowed down where you'd like to go?
Not really. I'm keeping all my options open.
All right, well, nice work here, and good luck next week at States.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Back to you.
Well, there you have it. Congratulations, Brooke. And I'm going to hang on to that quote here as the quote of the day. We may be dying, but at least we're dying in a beautiful place.
I hope she's referring to the race and her feeling and not
an actual
Greta Thunberg.
yeah, exactly.
Greta's having a massive influence on everyone. Wow.
But I mean, that sums it up. Hey, we can only stress so much, and we're a little bit biased here talking about how pretty it is and how beautiful this course is. But there you have it from a Syracuse, New York native, claiming the nature is beautiful to run in, of course. But that's it. We are going to take a quick break. We're going to go to commercial, and we'll be back with you in just a couple minutes here for the Pan American Cross Country Cup.
BC Athletics is running and track and field in British Columbia. As a provincial sport organization, our purpose is to promote, encourage, and develop participation and excellence in athletics. We do this through introductory and youth programs, coach education and mentorship, officials training and recruitment, athlete development, camps and support. Learn more about how you can be a part of and support athletics in BC at bcathletics.org. We are BC Athletics.
What began as a pristine golf community with 2 Nicholas design courses, the stunning Weston Bear Mountain, has grown to become one of North America's most celebrated urban resort communities. Both Golf Canada and Cycling Canada call Bear Mountain home. Now you can too. Bear Mountain is pleased to introduce its newest landmark neighborhood, Elevate. Architecturally significant in its modern approach to design, discerning purchasers can enjoy condo living, combining a comprehensive amenity package with a choice of amazing views, all just minutes from Victoria. Visit bearmountain.ca.
Do you have an event that the world should see? Go live online with television quality and get thousands of viewers tuned into your brand. Book your broadcast at rollfocus.com.
Support of the Association of Pan American Athletics and the North
Welcome back to the live stream here of the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup, coming to you live on CBC Sports and Czech News. I'm your host, Graham Cox, of course, alongside Paul O'Callahan. We are done one big race of the day. That was the U20 women finishing in the top three. We had Brooke Rauber of Team USA coming in first, followed by Team Canada's Sadie Sigstead, and bringing up third place, the bronze medal position, was Jennifer Melker of Peru. Peru, quite a big contingent here from 18 runners coming up from Peru in that last or total altogether. Of course, the biggest contingents from Canada and the U.S. And we're about to move into our second race of the day. That will be the U20 men. Of course, as we get a shot of the women getting their podium standings there. There's Brooke getting her gold medal wrapped in that Team USA flag. Looks like a total pro already, hey?
She does. It suits her, doesn't it? She, as I say, she won the US title. Now she's got the Pan Am title to her name as well. That flag could become a constant companion to her during her career. But the big transition for her is to make it into the senior ranks. But she seems to know how to dig deep. She knows how to hurt herself. She said it herself, she was dying out there. I think she was referring to her athletic prowess rather than the environment, but a good run for her today.
Now that podium is a little bit smaller than the traditional Olympic podium, so getting all three women up top there's a little bit tougher, you can see. But they did manage to squeeze in for a photo, and there you go. Congratulations to those three on their podium placing here today. And as I just mentioned, we are going to be minutes away from the start of the U20 men here. And Paul, just in looking at this start list, there's a little bit less men here who are going to be running, but what can we look out for? Who is a runner or a racer to watch here?
I think we should look out for Kevin Robertson from Ottawa. He'll be thriving even in these conditions. He qualified for these championships with a third place finish at the U20 division at the 2019 Cross Country Championships, where I was over there myself in Abbotsford, and that was a really tough course as well. So not as tough as this one. There's a couple of hills, but nothing like this. So look out for Kevin Robertson as well. We also have to look out for Evan Bishop from the USA. He's got a 5,000 meter PB of 14:31, which is a very decent time for a junior, so look out for him. Corey Gorkas as well from Northern Arizona. He won the USA Track and Field Championships by cross-country championships, I should say, by 30 seconds. So he's used to running off the front. So maybe he can employ those tactics today. I think, again, the junior men's race, like the junior women's race, will start fairly conservatively. They don't want to be taxing themselves too much in that first, over that first lap. And also look out for Alex Comerford from the US. They've got some strong athletes here today. He's got a 3,000 meter PB of 8:22. Again, that shows me he's in good shape. So it should be a good race at the front again. I don't think we're going to see Corey Gorkash run away from this like he did the US Championships.
Now, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of people who are either, whether you're just joining us or whether you watch that first race with us, you're going to hear us say a tough course. You know, tough course. This is a very tough, hilly course. Are you able, you've been around, you've seen a lot of races, you've done a lot yourself, you've witnessed a lot, you've seen a lot of different things you were saying a little earlier. You know, where on the spectrum of when you look at something like this, just from the eye's perspective, does this fall on tough courses?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's probably one of the toughest cross-country courses that you have in North America. A lot of the courses are very flat. They put in artificial obstacles to try and make it a little bit more taxing. But this is, if you can find a course in nature, like we didn't have to do anything to this course other than design the layout of it. This is a really tough course, and the IAAF, which is the world governing body, are trying to encourage federations to find courses like this to make cross-country more pure. Because back in the day, back in the 60s, the 70s and the 80s, courses were more like this. Then in the early 80s, my first World Cross-Country Championships was run on a horse race course. We actually started in gates. You know, the gates that fly up in the air.
Yeah.
I was.
You didn't have a jockey on your back, did you?
No, I was the size of a jockey.
Yeah, right.
But it was really, really flat. And for a few years, the courses were like that. Now they're trying to make it more entertaining, more interesting. And you do that by finding courses like this, which have lots of undulations, lots of hills, lots of change in elevation. And this is this could be a springboard to Victoria hosting the World Championships. The World Cross Country Championships have only ever been held in North America twice. 1984 in New York. The next one was 1992 in Boston. I was there. I competed in that one myself. The good thing about the Boston one was, although it was a flat course, it snowed heavily for the week leading up to it. So it was a really tough course because of the depth of snow on the course. Something like this would appeal to the IAAF. So this could be a springboard to Victoria hosting the World Cross Country Championships. Never held in Canada. Could be the third time ever in the North American continent.
This is the interview process, if you will, for Victoria
it really
putting in their bid.
No,
Yes,
absolutely is.
Yeah.
You know, the head of the Canadian governing body is here, and he would be instrumental in putting forward that bid.
Well,
so if he likes what he sees, it could happen.
And I can tell you what, that the interest is here. Here in the city of Langford, Mayor Stu Young has done a really good job of putting this city out there for international events. And you know, we've seen it get some professional sporting teams. We've seen them bring in international sporting events, concerts. They're trying and they're reaching out there. And this is just one of many this year that's going to be happening, coming to the area. So you know that they would be interested and have interest in hosting a bigger scale event as well.
I would love to see it here, but there is one big drawback, and it isn't obvious if you're a spectator or you don't know much about the sport. You know, unless you've been to a World Cross Country Championship, you know what the criteria is. The course itself is perfect. The venue is perfect. Accommodation is perfect. The drawback is the start. The start here is perfect for this event, but in the World Cross Country Championships, you need a start that's about 400 meters in length and 300 meters wide, because you've got nations from all over the world. So you've got fields of more than 200, and because of the world's best athletes, the cream of the crop, they fly that first 400 meters. They're doing sub 4 minute mile speed for the first 400 meters. So you need a big straightaway. So I'm not sure what the answer is. Everything else is perfect except for the start.
Well, the perfect for today is exactly right. Perfect weather, perfect situation, perfect course. And this is typically a golf course, just as I mentioned a little earlier. And I've come and played it on golf, but I can't get an appreciation because we get the carts.
Yes.
So we don't even have to walk the hills, let alone run them. And like I said, we've seen some tough faces, some grueling. As you heard it from Brooke, we're dying, but we're dying in a pretty spot. So that should give you an indication as we get set. We are just a couple minutes delayed but I'm getting word about 1 minute, 2 minutes away from the start of the U20 men's here. We will be running this race. We're going to have a little bit of a break, and then, of course, the elites coming up a little bit later on in the day. First the women and then the men. And with the elites coming up later, we'll not talk about it too much now, but there are several athletes that will be heading to Tokyo this summer. Is that correct?
Yeah, oh, definitely. So the race I'm looking forward to the most is the ladies' race. We have got two of the best runners in Canada, probably North America actually, in Genevieve Lalonde and Natasha Wodak. They've both been to World Championships, they've both been to Olympic Games. Natasha is the Canadian 10,000 meter record holder. She actually she broke the Canadian half marathon record a few weeks ago, but then it was re-broke a week later by another athlete. So the level, the competition at the top is fantastic.
Well, I'm very excited for that race. So a lot of reason to stick around if you're watching here, but we go down to the start line here for the beginning of the U20 men's. We'll take a look here as these runners get set. And there's that start line you were talking about. They're all lined up, ready to go. And head back out onto this course. With this men's race, they will be doing 8 kilometers total. So the ladies did 6. That's a total of 3 laps of this course. The men, there they go. They are off. They will be doing 4 laps, so 8 kilometers here for the U20 men as this race gets underway. The second race of the day here at Bear Mountain, out on Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada. If you are joining us now, thanks for tuning in to the 2020 Pan American Cup Cross Country Cup, coming to you live on CBC Sports and Czech News.
So you can see again from the start, they're lined across the course, nothing too fast. You can see the leaders just looking over the back. We've got a couple of athletes from Bahamas, I should say, 4 from Brazil. We've got the 4 quota from Canada, 1 from Colombia, 1 from Ecuador, 1 from Guadeloupe, 4 from Mexico, and then we got 4 from Peru, and then a 4 quota from the US with 1 from Costa Rica. So a truly international field in this Pan Am Cup. And nothing too fast. They're just going off nice and steady, and they're just getting the lay of the land. They're looking over looking the shoulder at each other. You can see as well, they're just loping along like now. Nothing too fast. No one's making any crazy moves early on in this race.
Now, it looks like the one thing we haven't talked about much, we talked about the hills and the elevation and the undulation of this course up and down, but you can even see just some of the sloped curves they've got going down there. You can see there's a little bit of a flailing arm to catch the balance there. There's a couple very uneven sections when it comes to side to side. How does that play into a run or when you're coming around a corner like that?
Yeah, so just being off camber does take you off balance a little bit, but it's so different when you're running. You can quickly rebalance yourself. A lot of the courses like this as well are used in Europe for cyclocross races. So being off camber on a bike when you're doing cyclocross is completely different to when you're running. So it won't be a problem for these athletes. They'll just quickly rebalance and then just get back into their stride again. But you can see, running through the sand as well. We've got everything here. We've got the sand, we've got the undulations, we've got the hills, and we see a quintet now breaking away, just 5 athletes making an early move to get away. We can see them down in the bowl. It's not a significant move. There's just 2 or 3 meters between them, and in fact the whole group's bunching back together again. As they go up the hills, you tend to find that the athletes bunch up, and then as they go down, they spread out again.
How common is it on a cross country course to have 10, 20, 30 steps in sand all of a sudden and slow you down? Is that a common thing, or is this because I know what it's like playing beach volleyball in sand, and you drag, you can't jump, all of a sudden that's going to change up your pattern and your stride.
It's not common, and that's why this course is so good, because they've tried to think of everything. They put everything in. The only thing that's missing from this really is water.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a creek, if we had a river. In fact, there is a creek down there, but they covered it up.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like these creeks are deep enough. You might be wading through that. It might be a little tougher.
And we've had a lot of water here the last few weeks. But really, that's the only element missing from it. But, you got everything else here. It's fantastic. But yeah, the sand won't be a problem for them. All the athletes are wearing specialist shoes, so they wear what's called cross-country spikes, and in the front they have 6 needles, and those needles can vary in measurement from 9 millimeters to 15 millimeters. Today's conditions, because it's nice, it is firm. It's not too boggy. There's no mud out there. It's not too boggy. They'll be wearing 9. At the very longest, they'll be wearing 12s.
Now, one thing too, like I wanted to loop back to with you. We talked about the beauty of this course and the beauty of this place, the beauty of Vancouver Island, and that was something that hooked yourself here, Paul. You were originally from Ireland, you lived in England, but now you're here. You've been here for 14 years, and I really like the story you told me about how you yourself ended up here as a result.
Well, so the running community is fairly small. I was a very good friend of a runner who represented Great Britain. In fact, he was not just Great Britain, he was one of the best in the world. He ran 3 Olympics, he was 6th in the 10,000 metres and 4th in 2 marathons. And the viewers, if they know their sport, they know who I'm talking about, John Brown, who still lives here right to this day. He's 50 years old. In fact, he was 52 days ago, so happy birthday, John. But John and I were, we were familiar with each other. We were at different stages of our career. But I was down at the London Marathon and I got chatting to him, and I said, talking about Canada, and he said he lived in Vancouver. I thought he said he lived in Vancouver. He was off to Athens to the Olympic Games there, and he invited me over to house it for him. So sounded great. So we emailed each other. I said, you better speak to your wife first before you start opening your house up to me, because I've got 4 kids. So my wife and I sold the car. Said we're going to Vancouver, and then later on down the line, John said, no, not Vancouver. He said, look on the map, and I had to look closely. Tiny island off Vancouver Island, obviously it's not that small. It looked it on the map. So off we came to Vancouver Island. I house sat for John. I watched the Olympic marathon in his house when he finished 4th in Athens in 2004. We loved it so much that we went home and filled in our papers to emigrate here. And it's a point system here, so I had enough points to come in. So we came without jobs, we came without accommodation. We had enough money to support ourselves, and we quickly ingrained ourselves in the running community, found jobs, and here we are 14 years later.
There you go.
You can't get rid of us now.
Exactly right. We're stuck with you. So then, over under, by the end of today, how many athletes are moving to Victoria after this race?
It's a hidden secret. Don't tell anyone.
Exactly.
Actually, let's hope that Prince Harry and Meghan. They're putting it on the map even more.
That's it.
Please
exactly.
don't. Go away.
The royal
we
buzz
don't want the tabloids here.
It's been something else. But it is, that's it. That's just another testament. I hear that story, and it makes sense. It checks out, because I've been lucky enough to grow up here on the West Coast. And, for anyone who hasn't ever been here, I'd encourage them coming out. There's a good story backing it up, because it's stunning. You don't get this everywhere, and we're kind of lucky to have it in our backyard.
Extremely lucky.
And checking back in on the race there, we can see the pack starting to separate out a little bit here. The runners have been on the course for approximately 6 minutes now, just over the 6-minute mark here in the men's U20 race. They've still got a ways to go. 8 kilometer total is going to be this race, so we've got some time as the pack stays roughly together here so far in this one.
Yeah, he's looks like the leader at the front's trying to make a move. He's looking fairly strong. He's leaning in.
That's wearing bib number 77 as we pull up our sheets here to get you a name. That is the runner from Brazil, Lucas Pinho Leite. Lucas coming all the way from Brazil, so leading the pack early on in this one. But like we said, many laps to go, many grueling hills to go as well. So we'll see if Lucas can hang on to his lead, as he has about a 4-stride lead over the cluster of men bringing up the second pack.
Yeah, he looks strong as well, so he's obviously feeling fairly confident about what he's doing, breaking away like that, which is great to see. On a course like this as well, you've got to be strong. But again, with a course like this, when you get the undulations and the downhills, you might feel strong on these slight uphill sections and have a bit of a gap. But then on the downhill section, when the cadence increases and the speed increases, you can easily be pulled back in. It looks like that's happened as well right now.
So one thing that we noticed in that first lap with these men is, as you mentioned, there was a lot of looking over the shoulder, a lot of feeling it out. You could see the pace was slow. Now they've gotten one lap under their belts here. Is it time to, now you know the feel of that course, what's that strategy in the second lap here, Paul?
You'll be looking either to do it individually or as a team. Like sometimes in cross-country races, if you've got a strong team, then you can use that team to help you as well. So, the USA have got a fairly strong team, and they might gather at the front and they'll dictate the pace, and they'll start testing the other athletes behind them as well with the little surges, the little moves. But I don't think we'll see anything to the second half of this race. I think the first 2 laps will just be about getting a big group away from the main field. And then in that second half of the race, that's when they start really testing each other. We saw that with our women's leader earlier on. She pushed the pace in the second half, and Sadie Sasted, she stuck in there with her as well. And I think we'll see the same sort of thing here today in this junior men's race.
And we've seen Lucas from Brazil fall off the pace a little bit as it fell back to the pack there, and we were back into the cluster of men all together here as they work their way through the sand trap there. And up the hills here. Now, with these guys feeling it out, you mentioned team running and team. You want to work as a team and do this as a team. What is that team component? Let's explain to our viewers how team factors play into this.
So what usually happens as well in a team race, in a cross-country race, so normally you would have 6 athletes, and not every country has got that quota of 6 athletes, and then the top 4 score. So, for example, to make it simple, imagine, and this has happened before with Kenya in the World Cross Country Championships, they've had their first 6 athletes in the top 10, but you only take the 4 best scores. So if you finish first, second, third, and fourth, you add up those points. So first 1 point, second 2 points, third 3 points, fourth 4 points. That's the best score you can get. So that would be a score of 10 points, and that would win you the team competition. So the lower your score, the more the chances are you're going to win the team event. So it's all based on the scoring system of the finishing order of your athletes. So if you're a 4th scorer and you're running down in the teens, it's really important to fight for every single spot when you're coming into the finishing straight.
And speaking of team runners, you did mention that's 3 USA runners leading the front pack there thus far as a unit. All 3 there from Team USA, of course, showing that team strategy, right, as you mentioned. So couldn't have been more on cue there.
Yeah, and then looking, again, you can see when the athletes spread out a bit, with the running in single file slightly, so the pace is fast. When they're bunched up and they're running 3 and 4 abreast, the pace is slowed down. But on a course like this, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to get those little concertina effects where sometimes they're bunched up, other times they spread out, just because of the nature of the course. Uphill, you could break away. Downhill, everyone bunches back together again. So what a good tactic would be, and what a good strategy would be, is when you're ready to make that move, when you want to try and get into a winning position, to kick up a hill rather than ease off when you're at the top of the hill, is to kick if you can, kick even harder off the top of the hill, because that will disillusion the athletes behind you, and they know you're trying to make that winning move. No one's done that yet because we're in the early stages of the race, but I would imagine we'll see that in the 3rd or the 4th lap. When someone's feeling strong, they'll push themselves up their hill and try and kick off the top.
Now, just from a curiosity standpoint, when you've got 3 runners like that from a team, you got 3 USA there in the mix there at the front, would you be wasting any energy communicating with each other, talking like, go push, or are you not, you just kind of know your strategy going on?
There's very little talk when you're running, just because the anaerobic level is so high. So the heart rates here will be close to max. They could be running stages of the race, which will be the 3rd and 4th lap. They're just looking over each other's shoulder, seeing that everyone's still together. So, tactically, nothing's being done right now.
That's right. Just out of curiosity, or just for the information here, so we're hitting the 14-minute mark of the men's. We have gotten the times from the women across our table here as well. Looking back, so Brooke Rauber, she did the winning gold medal race in 23:12 on the women's one. And that, once again, that's 6 kilometers a total course. This one's going to be 8. What time can we expect the top runner here looking roughly for the men's?
So I would imagine they're going to... So the ladies ran 23:12.
I understand there may have been a little bit of a glitch there. We are back online streaming, so if you saw it, tune out. Hopefully we are back here on your screens and back live at the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Championships. And we were just talking about times. We've got the times from the women's race coming across our table here. Brooke Rauber finishing that race, that 6 kilometer race in the gold medal position at 23:12. So 23 minutes, 12 seconds. The men are hitting the 15-minute mark. They are running an additional 2 kilometers. What kind of rough time estimates can we expect the winner to come across
So
here?
I would imagine these have started fairly conservatively. We can see by the big pack. And now as I say that, they're beginning to stretch out a little bit now. We can see the pack splitting up. I would imagine the winning time will be about 25 minutes. So, anything that, if they can maintain a 3:05, 3:10 average per kilometre pace, that'll bring them home in around 25:40. So definitely their third and fourth laps will be the quickest of the race. First 2 laps were fairly sedate, but now we've got, that pack of 12 is now beginning to splinter. We've got 5 or 6 now trying to break away. So the pace is definitely picking up. So we're probably into the business end of the race now. We're 10, 11 minutes away from seeing the winner.
That's right, the party in the front, business in the back type thing. It's the reverse mullet of the races here.
Absolutely.
So the lead pack here breaking away, about 10 minutes, like you say, estimating roughly. My question for anyone who doesn't know cross country, isn't entrenched in it, is that 8 kilometer and in the men's and women's elite, the 10 kilometer, is that a set standard across all races, or is that unique to this course?
No, that's set. So all the championship races will be over that distance. The World Cross Country Championships used to be 12k, and I think they still are 12k. So that's, for the senior men, that's their distance that they'll be competing over, and the women's are 8 and 10k. So yeah, it's challenging. World Cross Country Championships is the pinnacle for any athlete, and for all these athletes here as well, that's what they'll be dreaming of one day. It is the best race in the world, in my opinion, the World Cross Country Championships.
With that said, I mean, every other, take track for example, all the conditions are always the same. So when you set a world record, it's a world record. But when you set a world record in cross country, you go to a different course. That record is it's very different. So is it more specific course records that people look for, or what?
Actually, in cross country, they don't have records of any sort whatsoever.
Because of the variety.
Because of the variety. Because every course is different, every venue is different, the conditions are so different. So it is unique in that it's a one-off race. You can compare times if you're back on the same course and it's exactly the same setup, but that's really, really rare. So you don't even do that, to be honest. So records are non-existent for cross country. The only thing they keep records of are the medalists. So you can go back right to the 1920s when they had their first global. Well, I suppose it was a world championship. The first official world championship wasn't until 1973, but they did have international races in the 20s and 30s and so on. But it became official in 1973. So you can go right back through the database and see all the medalists from 1973 right up until today.
So with that said, I mean, time is a very common metric to use in racing as, I want to shave hundredths of a second off my time. I want to work on this form, this and that. How much as a coach or an athlete do you then look back at a race after it's run, look at your time as an indicator? Is that even a thing? Do they even notice the time, or is it more like, I struggle on the hills, let's go to the hills?
Yeah, times are irrelevant on a cross-country course because it is all about racing. It's about racing. First of all, there's 3 races, I suppose, going on. You're racing yourself to get the best out of yourself. You're racing the course to challenge, to overcome the nature of the course. But the key thing is you're racing everyone else. That's in order of priority. It's racing your competitors, racing yourself, then racing the course, and trying to beat all 3 of those elements of the race itself. But really, times mean nothing. It's placing, and it's medaling, and it's how you feel on the day. Because they'll move on to another course in another part of the world or somewhere else, and it's completely different again.
So we do have still a cluster in this race. No clear leader as this front pack does start to stretch out a bit, but anyone's race here at this time. It looks like many people could still make a move as we come into, as you mentioned, the business end of this race. We hit the 20-minute mark. So these guys have been out on the course for 20 minutes, and it looks like the 3 front runners in the shot there. You've got 2 coming here, those the Mexico jerseys.
Looks like the Mexican athletes on the front as well, so the US athletes as well right in there. So 2 from Mexico, 1 from US. But again, there's 5 away with 2 or 3 right behind as well. So the race is still on, and anything can happen in the last 5-6 minutes of this race because You know, it's an accumulation of tiredness as well. You might think I'm saving myself for some speed work at the end, but sometimes the legs give in because of that accumulation of lactic that's built up over the undulations and the hill. So it's much more difficult than you think.
So we've got bib number 72 in the lead. That is Cesar Daniel Gomez Ponce from Mexico, right now leading the pack. But as you mentioned, a very close race. Also up there, I see jerseys from USA, Puerto Rico, Peru, and bringing up the rear of that front pack, a Canadian jersey. So a mix of countries in that front rep, but right now it is Cesar Daniel Gomez Ponce from Mexico in bib 72 there with the lead. So he's leading that pack as we hit the 21-minute mark, but a very, very tight race here. A lot more men in the mix in this race than we saw in the U20 women's, where it was very much two women who led the majority of the race and separated themselves quite early on to make it a contest between the two of them. But here, as we said, anyone who's got the energy in the tank to really dig deep in this course that throws a lot of curveballs, the ups and downs, and the sand traps here. So the variety on this course could mean anything. But there's Cesar Daniel Gomez Ponce taking a three-stride lead into first place at this time from Mexico.
And this is a significant effort as well. We can see one of the Canadian athletes there just limping again. You know, the second race and the second injury. In the first race, we also had a Canadian athlete that pulled up injured. And that can happen as well. On a course like this where you get those real steep climbs, it puts a lot of pressure on the Achilles tendon and calves. And you know, if you get it wrong, you can get these little micro tears and suddenly your Achilles pops. So it looks like he had a lower leg injury there to the Achilles tendon or calf. And again, that can be just the nature of the course that we're on. It's a really tough course, and it does have an effect on you.
They're working their way through the sand trap. You can see the pace has really quickened as they start to dig here into the final stretch of this race, the back stretch here. Still a cluster up at the front, though. It could go any which way. We've got 4 athletes there now making their move. This one's going to be a tight finish.
It is. We've got 4 athletes and only 3 medals, so this is really exciting. One of these athletes is going to miss out, and it's always disappointing to finish in 4th place. It's probably the worst position to finish. I'd rather finish 5th or 6th than 4th. So it's this is going to be some finish, and it's really the key thing here for any of these athletes is getting their move just right. You know, who's going to make the move first? Someone's going to miss out, and usually it's the person that's mistimed it. So, you know, this is going to be a really interesting finish. Who's going to get the 3 medals here? We've got 2 from Mexico, 1 from Brazil, 1 from the USA, who just goes back into the lead again. A nice lead there.
Just getting a read on those bib numbers there. We've got the Mexican runner there, Cesar Daniel there in bib 72. Bib 73 is Alejandro Alania from Peru in that mix. That's the white jersey there, bringing up in 3rd place. And then these 2 American runners, this glare's a little tough to see their bib numbers there. I believe that's 57. 57 is, no, that's a Canadian runner, so that won't be.
Okay.
Evan Bishop, 67.
Oh, Evan
there.
Bishop,
Evan
good to see
Bishop
him up
is
there.
in 2nd and leading the pack. I could not quite see that first runner there, but Evan Bishop is the one of the Americans in this pack, and there is sneaking up there a 2nd Mexican runner as well. Can't see the bib number there, but that's your 5 leading. 2 from Mexico, 2 from USA, 1 from Peru. Could go any which way.
So Evan Bishop was a runner-up in those USATF Under-20 Championships, and he finished 9th at the Foot Locker Cross Country Championships. Also got a 14:30 personal best over 5,000 meters. So he's got some credentials, and it looks like the US now are really making a move to try and get that 1-2, which will be a great success for them as well. Imagine they've already won the women's race, they've taken 1st place. This could be a double victory for them, taking the junior men's and the junior women's in the first 2 races here at the Pan Ams. So the USA really making a bold move now.
So just taking a look there, the front runner, you know, in swimming you want to have some short hair, but he's got the flow to go with the run. It doesn't feel the drag here from the law.
No, I think they can get away with it, going for the 1970s look. So it looks like we've got back to 5 athletes now as well, so a great move.
A good push from the Mexican team as well here, as we've got 2 USA, 2 Mexico in the front 4 positions. So we'll see which team can prevail and who can grab the podium spots. Like you said, there can only be 3 out of those 5 front runners. You're scraping for that third top 3 spots.
And we are coming up now to the final stages of this race. They've probably got, maybe another 60, 75 seconds remaining. There's a big move being made now. It's 2-3 meters ahead. We can see them out in single file, and we're coming up to the final hill of this race. So there we go, we got 5 athletes again, all in single file now, which shows you the pace is really increasing. USA first, Mexico second, USA third, Mexico fourth, and then Peru in 5th place.
And I believe that front runner is bib 65, Corey 65 and 60. We've got, so 65 leading the way is Team USA. That's Corey Gorgas. Corey Gorgas there with the flow, making the strides here, pushing deep into
hard.
this finish as we hit the 26 mark. And like you said, those runners have stretched out a little bit. It looks like Corey Gorgas in bib 65 is going to be the front runner as
Corey
it comes down this
making a big
stretch.
move now. Good move there from Corey. Don't forget he won the USA Championships by 30 seconds, and today he ran away with that one. He looks over his shoulder one last time. He's really making a move for victory. This is going to be a superb win for him because he sat in. He didn't do any work like he did in the USA Championships where he ran away with it. He bided his time here and he's coming into the finishing straight now. Great run from him.
There he goes. Corey Gorgas crosses the line in first place. The little fist pump there. He'll be taking your gold medal. And now anyone's game for those top 2 spots. We'll get a read here of the finish line in a second as Corey celebrates there. And he'll get wrapped in an American flag as well, as USA took the U20 there with Brooke Rauber in the women's. And Corey Gorgas from Team USA as well takes the U20 men's. It's an all-American sweep so far. And you can see that that front group really separated itself. It was a cluster for quite a while, but then 5 athletes expanded there. It was 1 from Team Peru, 2 from USA, and 2 from Mexico. And we're just waiting for word on which order 2-3 came in. We'll get that to you as soon as possible. But we can tell you this, it was Corey Gorgas from Team USA taking the gold medal spot. Corey Gorgas winning by quite some margin there in the final stretch. He took it away.
He did. You know, that final hill, when you've got a group like that, you've got 4 or 5 athletes, if you can use that final hill, I mentioned earlier in the race will be won by someone that can kick off the top of the hill. And he waited to the last hill. He went up it really hard, great cadence, kicked off it really hard. He looked behind, he saw he had daylight, and came down the finishing straight. Nice and clear in splendid isolation. A great run there from Corey Gorgas. And the USA team will be delighted with their first 2 races, taking the 2 individual titles here at Bear Mountain, which is just absolutely beautiful right now, resplendent in sunshine. We've got the 2 most exciting races to come here. I'm really looking forward to these 2 senior races.
Yeah, we'll get to that too. And of course, we will hear from Corey here in a bit when we go back to the finish line with Chris, who will be grabbing Corey for an interview. So we'll get to hear from him. We'll see the medals given out. And then we are going to be taking a little bit of a break. We've got some stories to show you from Czech News. We've got a couple interviews coming your way with some people in the running community who can talk to this event and talk to this course. We do have the visuals of the kids run, so you'll get to see some kids out there having fun on this course. They won't be doing the full 10K, I can tell you that much, but they'll be out there having some fun. And then it is into the bread and butter of this event, the elite women first, followed by the elite men. So there's a rough idea of the rest of the day and the rest of the stream here. Coming to you live on CBC Sports and Czech News, the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. And so far, it's been an excellent day. It's been a lot of fun so far. It seems like everyone's getting on. No real serious injuries so far. Just the odd minor glitch that you've said. And of course, we will say it once. We'll say it again. The weather in this location. Our view is just spectacular. I mean, what could be better than this? We could have been in the back of the truck if it was raining. It could have been much worse. But we're out here having fun, and it's been overall a fantastic experience.
Absolutely wonderful. What a great venue. As we said before, this could be a springboard to bigger things. And the organising committee will be well aware of that. The head of the Canadian Federation is here, Glenn White Young, who will be interviewing a little bit later on as well. So he'll be taking notes on this venue. And hopefully, who knows, one day we could see the World Cross Country Championships here.
Yeah, like I said, and the push would be there as more and more international sporting events come to Vancouver Island. Beautiful, this corner of the world. The hidden gem that might not be so much more hidden, but if you ever get the chance, we do encourage you to ever come out to Vancouver Island, take the beautiful ferry across, come experience these views, this nature. It is the great place for outdoor events such as this. This is fantastic because it does have it all, even on our golf courses.
Yeah, we just don't have normal golf courses here. We have the Jack Nicklaus design golf course.
That's right.
That's how good we are here on Vancouver Island.
That's right.
Everything's world class.
Yeah, this Bear Mountain area, it's really shot up and grown. Langford, the city of Langford, doing some incredible work here as well. We are going to take a quick break here. We'll go to a commercial break here as we await our interview, as Corey Gorgas has a lot of fans to shake hands with and high five. Of course, going to do some recovery first. We're just waiting on our interview. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be back with you live, coming from beautiful Bear Mountain Resort on Vancouver Island here in Canada, broadcasting to you the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. We'll take a break.
What began as a pristine golf community with 2 Nicklaus design courses, the stunning Weston Bear Mountain, has grown to become one of North America's most celebrated urban resort communities. Both Golf Canada and Cycling Canada call Bear Mountain home. Now you can too. Bear Mountain is pleased to introduce its newest landmark neighborhood, Elevate. Architecturally significant in its modern approach to design, discerning purchasers can enjoy condo living, combining a comprehensive amenity package with a choice of amazing views, all just minutes from Victoria. Visit bearmountain.ca.
Welcome back to the live stream of the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. Here on the broadcast, myself, Graham Cox, joined with me, Paul O'Callahan, and right now, just as of moments ago, Corey Gorgas from Team USA has won the U20 male race here, coming in first, that gold medal position, and we've got Corey standing by with Chris over at the finish line. Chris, take it away.
So I've got.
Thank you, gentlemen. Corey Gorgas, 2020 Pan Am Cross Country Cup gold medalist. How does that sound to you?
Sounds great. Yeah, this is a goal I've been aiming for a long time. So, yeah, honored to get it done here.
Great. You're going to Northern Arizona University. Your coach, Mike Smith, has you running, I guess, probably around 60, 70 miles a week, you were saying a little earlier.
Yeah.
And how does that sort of volume work as a freshman at Northern Arizona University?
Yeah, it was a great transition, high school to college. Smith's really smart with, adjusting people in really well. And, yeah, I'm glad I'm making do with 60 to 70. I hope to make a jump in the future soon. But, yeah, for now I just work with the altitude really well and just trying to get in what I can.
For sure. And you're a 5,000-meter specialist pretty much. And so what do you got coming up for your outdoor track season?
Yeah, so I'm going to use eligibility for outdoor. I'm planning on running Stanford in just a few weeks here. I'm hoping to do the 5K there. I'll talk it over with my coach. But, yeah, that's a big goal of mine to run well there. And then, yeah, just go from there. I'm thinking about trying out the steeplechase, but just seeing how all things go. So, yeah, I'm really excited to get going with outdoor and try and make some big moves there.
Yeah, and it seemed like the steeple runners have done well here today. Of course, you won, but maybe that is an event you should be in. But let's talk about this course, because we have this giant hill. You had to go over it 4 times. It seems to be a real factor for everybody and a discussion point. How did that play into your tactics?
Yeah, so I knew, we'd be going around this thing 4 times, so I just tried to play it smart, and each time we approached the hill, I knew it was going to hurt a lot right after, but it's just like our home place that we run, Buffalo Park. There's a giant hill there, and yeah, I just really tried to realize that the last 400 after that hill, it's going to hurt a lot, but you got to not buy into that pain and really just try and work through it, and then let your body adjust and get back into a rhythm. So that's what I tried to do, and yeah, it worked really well for getting me into that last 2K where I could really try and make a move.
Yeah, and you played it very smart. You were in the pack, you held back, you didn't make your move till the last lap. And we saw the early leader finish mid-pack, so that was good tactics on your part.
Yeah.
What about the environment in the venue and the organizing committee, the job they've done here?
Yeah, this is just an amazing experience. Just one of my favorite weekends of my life. It's really just an honor to compete for Team USA. So yeah, I couldn't be happier than to come out and do it in Victoria, Canada, and yeah, have a great time representing my country. So.
Well, it's great. Nicely said. Thank you for this, and good luck next week at Stanford.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And shout out to the Saugatuck boys watching back home.
All right, back to you.
There you guys have it. Corey Gorgas, Team USA, coming in first, the gold medal there with the flow. The hair for days, more than what I can grow. I don't know if I'd be able to get out to that level, but congratulations out to Corey, and we are just awaiting the official times here, so we'll bring you the podium in a few moments of who got silver and bronze. There was quite a mix there, and we're just getting the official timings to our table soon, so stand by for that. But one thing earlier this week, oh, we do have it. Here we go. Here, times just shows up. Just for your awareness, Corey Gorgas, as we mentioned, coming in first slot with a total time of 27:15, and bringing up in second another Team USA. That was Evan Bishop, who had a great race there. 2 Team USA members, and then sliding into third, the Peru runner, Alejandro Alanya in the 73 bib, taking the bronze. There you can see those guys celebrating there. We will get their medals here shortly as well. But I want to say here, as we now look ahead, we've got a little bit of a break, but we will look ahead to the women's and the men's elite. And one runner in particular, earlier this week, our Czech News team got in touch with Genevieve Lalonde. She's here and she's training in Victoria. She's going to be running up in this elite women's race, a decorated runner, if you will. But we do have an interesting story to throw to you here in a second. But before we do that, Paul, you're familiar with Genevieve. Tell me about this woman.
She's a very exciting runner, actually. She runs with no fear. She abandons everything. She loves running off the front. I was at the National Cross Country Championships in Abbotsford where I saw her take the title. Actually, it was the second time she took that title as well. So she knows how to defend and to retain a title, it's great winning a title. It's even harder to retain it. And she did that against Natasha Wodak that day, who is one of Canada's finest ever endurance athletes. So it was great to see those 2 ladies really fighting at the front. She's just relocated out here from Moncton in New Brunswick, and she's being coached now by Hilary Stillingworth, who's got great credentials herself. She's the UVic head coach now for the track and field and cross country team. She was a 2016 Olympian, so over 1,500 meters. So she has got the credentials. She'll be helping Genevieve go a long way.
Yeah, and it just in our interactions with Genevieve, setting up this story, it was shot by Kevin Chirac on our Czech News team. But she was just a lovely human. She's very, very bubbly, very smiley. But one thing I will tell you about us here from Vancouver Island, we love to claim things as her own, and although she's from Moncton, she's from Eastern Canada, she now said to me that she calls Victoria home, so that's enough for us to call it Victoria. Genevieve Lalonde here, who will be running in the women's elite race a little bit later on, but the Victoria fans will have somebody to cheer for because we can call her a local. Let's meet Genevieve Lalonde.
It's running's version of off-road racing.
We call it mudders, so the cross-country runners are mudders.
I would consider myself a mudder.
You like the mud?
I do, yeah.
Jen Lalonde is used to messy and difficult terrain. Last year, she won Pan Am Gold for Canada in the 3,000-meter steeplechase in Peru and became the first Canadian woman to advance to an Olympic steeplechase final at Rio 2016.
Every time you put the Canadian singlet on, you know, it's kind of like putting on a superhero. So you put it on and suddenly you like feel really good, and you've got kind of those magical powers of you know, just wanting to perform.
The 28-year-old moved to Victoria just a few months ago with her fiancé and says she's found running heaven.
I mean, the community's great, the weather is amazing, the views are spectacular, but you know, even on the rainy days of January, we were just loving every day and being able to run in the trails.
Another reason the Moncton, New Brunswick native moved? Working with island-based coach and two-time Olympian Hilary Stellingwerff.
She's got so much expertise, having gone to the Olympics twice, and you know, having faced a ton of adversity and stuff. It's been really great.
Lalonde's big goals include another trip to the Olympic Games this summer in Tokyo, but the reigning two-time national cross-country champ is ready to bring it at Bear Mountain.
Jen is definitely one of the favorites, and this course suits her really well. It's gritty and hilly, and I think last year at World Cross Country Championships that was a similar course, and she did very well.
It would be pretty special to bring home a medal on home soil. So yeah, that's what we're definitely looking for, is to be in that top group and to bring home a title for sure.
Got a job for you in a minute.
So there you have it, Genevieve Lalonde. She's one to watch here coming up in that women's race, which will be on our broadcast here shortly as the next race on the schedule. But two things happened when that story was being put together in our newsroom. Kevin came back with the footage, and he shows me this interview clip, and she says, "I'm a mudder." And my first thought was, is she just saying mother wrong? And she's just celebrating, I'm a mother. But then the second thought, as someone not entrenched in the running world, what the heck is a mudder? What is it, and are you a mudder?
I'm not a mudder. I hate running in the mud. It's the hardest conditions to run in. I've done it before and I've failed miserably. Some people seem to float on the mud, and I think Genevieve does just that. So if the course is muddy, and the more mud, the better. The more she's able to float over.
If you're a mudder, you want more mud than that, as opposed to just a layer.
I don't know how they do it. They float over the mud as if it's not there. I
run like a heavy animal. I'm very big steps. I would not last in mud.
I talked about John Brown recently. Remember my story about coming over here? Actually, he's probably the greatest ever athlete in distance running from Vancouver Island. I know he ran for Great Britain, but to finish 4th in 2 Olympic game marathons is incredible. He was a mudder. The muddier the course, the better he ran. I remember him beating the World Cross Country champion on a muddy course. It wasn't the World Championships at the time, it was a big international event. But he actually beat the World Cross Country champion because it was muddy.
Yeah.
He floated over it. It was
It's one of those, when you finish, if you're covered more, that means you had a good race,
exactly.
right?
It was incredible. I actually watched the race the other day because John turned 50, and I thought I'm going to watch his greatest ever race, which is when he beat the World Cross Country champion. Yeah. It was amazing.
Well, that would be incredible. It's fun to watch some of these races. If you're watching right now, you're checking out our kids' race. No mud on the course here, no mudders out there, but some kids here from the local area getting a chance to run in the Nations Cup here race. A fun little interim run as we get our elite runners prepared for the women's.
And look how far ahead that leader was. This is actually looks like young Theo there running from Glenline Norfolk School. I recognise that young man in 5th place wearing the green t-shirt. But these are all ages as well. So
yeah, I was going to ask, is this is it anyone can run in these things? This is just a fun thing.
It is. It's a fun thing. It's just to embrace the sport, to get the community involved, get the kids involved, bring the parents out here. Obviously, if the kids are coming here, the parents are bringing them, and to introduce them to the sport, and for them to go back to school on Monday morning and say they run on the same course that the elite athletes did. They can say they run on the same course that Genevieve Lalonde's running on a little bit later on.
That's right.
So they're getting a good taste for it. But there's male and female in this. There's every age group in it as well, from K up to grade I think it's grade 5 and even above that. So, you know, the ones at the front will be the older kids. But I do believe they're breaking it. They are giving them medals, and they're breaking it down into their different age groups.
For sure. And I know I participated in kids runs and tracks when I was younger, and my career was cut short from running as I moved into other sports, but I still hang on to my one kids run win from way back when. Trust me, it's the only medal I got hanging in my room.
Fantastic. I love it.
It is a big deal too. Of course, it's fun for us, but for them out there, obviously a lot of fun.
And look at them, they're running over it. That's a good pace to run in at. Look at the leader there. That's okay, he's leading, but not by much. And all those runners are running at a really strong pace. Good for them.
And well, what's great is they don't change the course for the kids. They're doing the same thing out there, and it's not easy. It is not easy. I mean, we saw the community run, which was not kids. It was older people, all ages as well. But they were walking, and these kids, it looked like they're still running. They got the energy to do this.
I was speaking to Gary Barber, I think is the director of the kids run. So he drummed up the interest. He said there's 180 running in this.
Oh, wow.
That's incredible. So I don't know whether they're going off in different waves, but there's 180. Doesn't look like they're all out there at the same time, but there's 180 kids running in the next 25 minutes.
And 180 some odd parents happy that their kid's going to be quiet this afternoon and tired out.
Or 360.
Yeah, 360 sets of parents, I should say. Yeah, there you go. Got to do the math times it.
That's okay.
Math was never my strong point. They put a microphone in front of my face and said "talk," and I'm like, "Oh, let's do that.
I can do that.
Let's skip away from these numbers." That's right. So.
But
now we do have an interview on deck, as like I mentioned before and teased earlier. We have some runners from the community here who have been around this scene for quite some time that we wanted to talk to. So Chris, over at the finish line, is queuing up another interview here. So let's go down to Chris, as we've got Ulla Hansen alongside him here. Chris, take it away.
All right, thank you. I'm here with Ulla Hansen, president of the Victoria International Cross Country Association, the society that manages the committee that's put this event on, and Ulla's played a big part in the committee and with the board. 7-time World Cross Country Championships competitor, 27-time Canadian champion. With all your experience, Ulla, what do you think of the course?
I couldn't be happier. It's worked out so well. We've had a legion of people out here helping us to get this put together. And it's a tough course, but it's a beautiful course. And it's just been fantastic. Everybody's enjoying it.
You've done such a great job.
Thank you. I've had a ton of people helping, from the community, sponsors, the people here at Echo Oasis who own the golf course, the Weston Bear Mountain. It's just been amazing, the support that we have had from all strata of our community in the city of Langford and Victoria. It's just been really great.
So my question is, who ordered up this weather? Because yesterday it was diabolical out here.
You know, honestly, I've been working on this for quite a while, and I put my order in and it came through.
Be patient with me as I explain this, but Canada's running community is so tight. Here's an example of how tight it is. 1972 at Beaver Lake Park here in Greater Victoria, Ulla Hansen, you're a young girl watching Thelma Wright race the very first Pan Am Cross Country Cup, which turned out to be a dual meet in the end, US-Canada. Yeah. But you were watching her. So Thelma went on to the Olympics. Yes. You became this international runner. Thelma's here organizing people, and she's on our committee. Yes. She coached Lynn Kanuka, who is the competing bid. Lynn's here announcing over the public address system. Yeah. And then Lynn is coaching one of the favorites, Natasha Wodak, in the senior women's race. So it's 3 generations and 4 international women all coming full circle to this event here.
Yeah, we are a very tight community, and we're friends, and it's like family, and everybody pitches in for an event like this, and of course, you know, vast amounts of experience, and it's so great when everybody puts back into the sport what we got out of it in so many ways. But yeah, you know, we're competitors, different generations sometimes, but we understand the feelings and what needs to happen to put on a world-class event.
We've got the kids running behind us, so some of the viewers might be able to see some action going on. What about the kids? There's almost 200 school-age, elementary-age kids racing. Isn't this great?
Yeah, well, Gary Barber, who's a teacher at St. Michael's University, has been working really hard on this, and he, of course, is a Commonwealth Games participant, and, great runner in his own right in his day, and he's worked hard to get 200 kids out here. The idea is that they have, it's a nations cup, so each school is taken on a different country of the countries that are here competing in the Pan Am Cup. So it's kind of cool to have that connection there, and who knows, that is the next generation. They hopefully will be inspired and keep going in our sport.
That's great. And talk about the Americans. They won gold in the U20 women's, and they went 1-2 and won the team in the U20 men. They've brought a good team up, haven't they?
Yeah, they always are. Really competitive in cross country in this event, and they really show up to race, and they do a very, obviously they are fantastic.
A quick last thought, just generally speaking, and then we're going to go back to the booth.
Yes, okay. Just to say thank you to everybody who's worked so hard to put this event on, and we're so pleased that it's running smoothly, and we're just, yeah. It's been really great and a wonderful experience for me. And this interviewer is one of our board members as well. He's actually my vice president, so thank you, Chris.
Well, you're welcome, and congratulations on all the success here, and good luck with the rest of the day and potential Worlds bid coming up.
Potential, this has been very successful, so who knows? We'll see.
Thank you. Back to you, gentlemen.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Thank you, Chris. Chris Kelsog interviewing Ulla Hansen, and as she mentioned, a great event today, running smoothly. A pun for you, if you will. The event seems to be going off without a hitch. We are going to take a quick break as you watch the live stream of the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. We'll throw to commercial and be right back with you. Elite men and women still to come on today's broadcast.
BC Athletics is running and track and field in British Columbia. As a provincial sport organization, our purpose is to promote, encourage, and develop participation and excellence in athletics. We do this through introductory and youth programs, coach education and mentorship, officials training and recruitment, athlete development, camps and support. Learn more about how you can be a part of and support athletics in BC at bcathletics.org. We are BC Athletics.
Video is changing the way customers experience your brand. Tell your story in a dynamic way and watch online engagements turn into real-world interactions. Get in touch at rollfocus.com.
What began as a pristine golf community with 2 Nicholas-designed courses in the stunning Weston Bear Mountain has grown to become one of North America's most celebrated urban resort communities. Both Golf Canada and Cycling Canada call Bear Mountain home. Now you can too. Bear Mountain is pleased to introduce its newest landmark neighborhood, Elevate. Architecturally significant in its modern approach to design, discerning purchasers can enjoy condo living, combining a comprehensive amenity package with a choice of amazing views, all just minutes from Victoria. Visit bearmountain.ca.
On us here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup, coming to you live on CBC Sports and Czech News from the fantastic Bear Mountain Resort and Golf Course. We've got the course set up here. Beautiful day on tap here from Langford on Vancouver Island, all the way on the west coast of Canada. If you're tuning in from all over the 12 countries and beyond, it's still to come on today's broadcast. We've got the women's elite and the men's elite. So the bread and butter of this event, as I mentioned earlier, the race of the day here on the call today with you, myself, Graham Cox, and alongside a legend in his own right, Paul O'Callaghan. And Paul, one thing we talked about here is just bringing it back to yourself, an Irish world record holder. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I feel like I've got very few accolades next to you.
Irish, just reaffirm Irish Masters 10,000 meter record holder, which is okay. That's fine. I'll take record holder.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah. My highest world ranking actually was 41st in 1988. So I think there were about 25 Kenyans ahead of me that year, I should say. But yeah, so it's great to be involved in the sports after all these years. I always say to athletes that you're only at the top for so many years. I was more of a fun runner, recreational runner, and social runner than I ever was an international runner. It's a very short career. I was lucky to have a career of about 10 years, 12 years. But I was always a runner before.
I like to say I was a fun runner as well. That was just the results said I was a fun runner.
But we always go back. I'm looking around here. We've got Lynn Kanuka here who's doing the on-site commentary. She was an Olympic bronze medalist in the 3,000 meters in the 1984 Olympic Games behind the great Zola Bud Mary Decker event, which was just crazy. The whole stadium booing Paul Zola Bud. But Lynn Williams was a bronze medalist. We've got Bruce Deacon here, two-time Olympian. We've got Gary Barber, who ran in the Commonwealth Games. They're all in my age group. But we're all fun runners now.
Yeah.
And we still love the sport and we're still involved.
A lot of Olympians. It's great that you say that because we actually have standing by the Team Canada Olympic coach who's going to be going to Tokyo 2020 coming up later this summer. He's standing down by Chris Kelsog out at the finish line. So let's throw over to Chris, who is with Glenroy Gilbert. Chris, take it away.
All right, I'm here with Glenroy Gilbert from Athletics Canada. Glenroy, the last time that a lot of people around here feasted their eyes on you, you were winning a gold medal at the 1994 Commonwealth Games. Tell me, what does the city of Victoria mean to you as an athlete and now as head coach with Athletics Canada?
I love this part of the country. I've been to Victoria several times. When I worked for CPC, I was here with wheelchair rugby. I come here we've got our West Hub out here, out at Pisces. Like I said, this part of the country, I love coming, especially at this time of the year. It's 40 centimeters back in Ottawa. Come here, there's no snow, and it's quite warm considering Ottawa temperature.
We are wearing toques, but there's a bit of a breeze, and we're up at a little bit of elevation, so it's a couple degrees cooler than down at sea level. But yeah, they're racing in shorts and they're racing without toques. Talk about the venue from your perspective.
Yeah, you know what? This is my first cross-country event, and I got to tell you, it's been fantastic. I came out yesterday and walked a part of the course. It is a challenging course from what I know. We've got two amazing coaches that work directly with our athletes out here, and they've talked. They have experience with cross country far more than I do, and they've talked about this course as being a challenging one. It's one where you've got to work. Everybody's working for everything that they're getting out here, but you know what? What we're seeing is athletes are having fun, they're enjoying it. There's great competition. The Americans are doing quite well. Our squad is doing well, both on the men and women's side. So, what more can we ask for? Athletes they're doing well. They're not out here getting personal bests on a day like this, especially with as challenging as the course is, but at least they're performing and they're going head to head and hard. Every single race has been really, really tough and hard performing.
Yeah, for sure. And viewers tuning in that didn't hear me mention that you're a head coach with Athletics Canada might be saying, hey, that's Glenroy Gilbert, one of Canada's all-time greatest. sprinters and Olympic gold medalist. What does he know about cross country? But you are a head coach, and you do rely on other talent here as well. But did you? We just finished a kids race up. Did you get a chance to run cross country as a child?
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about that this morning. Somebody said the exact thing. Was like, well, you were a sprinter. You didn't run cross country. I said, of course I did. Grade 7 and 8, grade 9, I ran cross country in Ottawa. Wasn't like this, but it was cross country nonetheless. So I've got a little bit of an understanding around cross country. Not to mention, we do have our amazing coaches that are here, Hillary Stellingsworth and Chris Winter, who's our team coach and doing a fantastic job with both the junior and the senior athletes that are here.
Yeah, and of course, Hillary's a 2012, 2016 Olympian, and Chris Winter is a great steeplechaser for Canada. So there's lots of talent out here. And you mentioned the Athletics Canada West Hub. So how is the hub doing out here?
You know what? It's doing well.
I
mean, we've got a lot of our top athletes that train out of the hub with our lead coach there, Heather Henniger. It's a service center for our athletes that not only the ones that are here, but the ones that may come in from the U.S. that are training out there. They need to come into the hub to get whatever medical services that they need, or if they just need a place to train for a while to get out of their DTE, which is south of the border. That's what it's there for, and it's been working fantastic with our athletes and coaches. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from the athletes away, as well as the athletes that are in the daily training environment there.
Here's a tough question for you. We've had some difficulty in coaching in Canada very recently at the club level as well as at the university level. You're a head coach with Athletics Canada, and I'm sure there's a lot of things you can't talk about today, but what needs to change? And I think a lot of the viewers know what I'm talking about. What needs to change in the recruitment, in the vetting, and in the listening to athletes if and when they complain?
I think you just said it right there. The listening to the vetting process. I think that the certification process and understanding that there's regular check-in there that's done. I think that's happening. It has been happening for the last little while. Obviously, recently there's been some things that have kind of fall through the crack in our sport, but right now we're doing everything in our power to make sure that none of those things happen again in the future.
Good stuff. Oh, well said, and thank you for that. Local area organizing committee. We got the Westin Bear Mountain, a 5-star resort hotel, as a athletes village. We have a PGA certified, Jack Nicklaus designed golf course at Bear Mountain. What more can we ask for? You know what? To be quite honest with you, this is as perfect a situation as I've seen. Like you said, the hotel is fantastic. The athletes are enjoying, what they have around them, and they just walk out and walk down the hill and they're at the course. You can't ask for anything better. Look at the day. The weather's fantastic. You know what? I think if we can do this every single time there's a cross country meet or track and field meet across the board, I think we're doing well. Well, on that point, Athletics Canada has to be on board if we're going to take a crack at, Victoria's going to take a crack at the bid for the 2023 or 2025 World Cross Country Championships. So now that you've had a look around and seen the venue, how are things looking so far? As far as I'm concerned, and I'm certainly not the one that's going to make that decision, obviously with our CEO, our COO, our high performance director, and our funding partners. Between those bodies, that decision will be made. But certainly, from my standpoint, I will certainly go back with having had a favorable time out here. All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the interview, and back to you at the booth.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Chris. And thank you, Glenroy Gilbert there from Team Canada with Athletics Canada, who will be heading out to Tokyo 2020. And I'm kind of chuckling to myself because, the stereotype of us Canadians, and if you're a small talker, you talk about the weather a lot because you don't have anything else to do. I feel like on this cast we've talked about the weather many times. In that interview it came up several times. But it is the perfect day, the weather here. Here at the Bear Mountain Resorts, as we come to you live for the Pan American Cross Country Cup with our men's and women's races still to come on the broadcast, live on CBC and Czech News. Now, one thing we've talked about and was just there with Team Canada coach, Olympics coming up this year. We are in a Tokyo 2020 year. That means we'll be going to the Olympics, but cross country not an event this year.
No, it hasn't been in the Olympics. I think it was back in the 1920s, but cross country is such
I remember those days.
it's such a global sport. You know, you don't need anything to run cross country. The best athletes in the world are from villages in Kenya where they don't have footwear and they run to school on trails backwards and forwards 5 kilometers at a time. You don't need anything, and so it's all inclusive. The IAAF, the world governing body, are talking to lots of federations around the world, and the federations are pushing to get the Olympics, to get cross country back into the Olympics. And it is a winter sport, so they want it held with the Winter Olympics. And I think it would be an amazing thing. You know, there's lots of athletes that are specialist cross country runners and don't necessarily make that transition to track. And that's what they focus on. And they've got no global championship apart from the World Cross Country Championships. It would be amazing if we had the Winter Olympics host a cross country championship as well.
Well, and I mean, it's interesting when you think of running, you don't think of winter, but it might be an interesting add to the Winter Olympics. But I want to bring it back to the summer, and we talked about some of these athletes coming up are going to be competing at the Summer Games, but with cross country not being there, of course, they're doing other events. So can you speak to me about that, about how, you know, running an event like this on an off-road course, you know, hills and different variations, how do you train differently? Does something switch now that they've got, you know, a different event coming up, or what goes into their preparation?
Yeah, so what they do, they break down their training into different cycles. And the winter cycle is based on strength and strength endurance with a little bit of speed endurance coming in now. But from, you know, they would have started their training. They usually take a break at the end of the summer after the track season. Then they come back and start training again, usually in about September, October, November. And that focus then is on just strength endurance. So that's getting in big miles, putting in the biggest miles you can. So, you know, for some of our top athletes here today that we'll see in the senior men and senior ladies race, they could be running up to 200 kilometers a week. You know, actually Cam Levins, who's not here today, for quite a few years, he was running 320 kilometers a week.
Jeez.
He was very excessive.
Wow.
Like, he was running more miles than anyone I've ever known. You know, for the American viewers that might be tuning in, that's over 200 miles a week. But usually they train about 200k a week. At this stage of the season now, they'll start bringing in some speed endurance as well. But they use these cross-country races as training. You know, yes, it's a focus for Genevieve and for Natasha, but it's not the number one focus. It's about the springboard to getting into their training for the track season. That's their focus. But this is such an important element as well, because it gives you that strength. It gives you resilience in the legs. It helps build up the muscular, the fibers and the tendons, and you know the lateral movement that you get on the grass that you don't get on the track. Just adds strength to the legs as well. So it's a really good all-round. First, it's a little bit like cross training. and those aren't the only athletes that do that. There are 800-meter runners that would do that as well. Remember the great Sebastian Coe, who's now the president of the IAAF. He was an 800-meter specialist. He ran cross-country in the winter. He didn't make any cross-country teams for his country, Great Britain. He wasn't that good, but he still ran them in his county, right, in the national championships, because he thought, you know, he realized the importance of building up strength before they did the speed work. So what Natasha and Genevieve will do after this is they'll go away. This will be the end of their cross-country season. They'll start transitioning from the strength and the speed endurance to pure speed and working on track workouts and track sessions. And, you know, you can't go onto the track too soon as well, because you'll get burnt out. It's such a mental thing being on the track.
Well, it's very, very impressive, and just the training that goes into it. You mentioned that amount of kilometers that people are running over the course of weeks and times, and the cross-country season now, it starts back in October. It runs from about October to March. But this year, we were saying earlier, this is the pinnacle event. This is the premier, because we don't have a World Championships. Those happen now every second year, right?
They do, and they want to bring them back to making it annually, because I think it's lost the prestige a little bit, because athletes, you know, as I mentioned earlier, some athletes are pure cross-country specialists, and every year we had a cross-country global championship to look forward to. Then they changed it. They were messing around with it for quite a few years. They've changed it now to every 2 years. The next ones are in on March the 20th, 2021, down in Australia, in fact. So
yeah.
we're going down under for our next cross-country championships. That in itself will pose problems for the Northern Hemisphere athletes.
Yeah.
You know, they'll have to make their cycle a little bit later because they'll be competing at the end of March. Then, you know, the North American track season starts in April, May, whereas the Australians would have finished their track season, and the Europeans will be starting much later in May and June.
Yeah.
So for the North Americans, that will be a little bit tricky, but you know, they'll handle it. Some of they're full-time athletes, so
of course one of the things too is the heat. You
And the heat
gotta
as well.
worry about
Exactly.
there is going even Tokyo. I know some of the athletes in preparation for these upcoming Olympic Games are worried about heat and have been doing things like hot yoga. Our rugby teams are doing some different interesting training techniques, and I'm sure if it gets down to Australia, that would be the same idea as prep your body for that heat, because we might have hills, but they got heat.
Well, look what happened in Doha last year at the World Championships. I was speaking to Natasha Wodak about that back in January. The stadium, which was newly built, brand new stadium, because of the conditions, it was going up to about 50 degrees. The whole stadium had outdoor air conditioning. There was no roof, but it had outdoor air conditioning. So Natasha said when she was walking around the stadium, you just got blasts of cold air from all sections of the stadium to try to bring down the temperature for the runners.
We don't even here in Canada have air conditioners in our house, let alone outdoor air conditioners. So, of course, everywhere you go, always something unique to offer. But we are approaching the final, the start race, the time for the women's elites, the best of the best here, coming up just after a short break. We're going to throw out a commercial, and we'll come back to you here to tee up our men and women.
BC Athletics is running and track and field in British Columbia. As a provincial sport organization, our purpose is to promote, encourage, and develop participation and excellence in athletics. We do this through introductory and youth programs, coach education and mentorship, officials training and recruitment, athlete development, camps and support. Learn more about how you can be a part of and support athletics in BC at bcathletics.org. We are BC Athletics.
What began as a pristine golf community with 2 Nicholas-designed courses, the stunning Weston Bear Mountain, has grown to become one of North America's most celebrated urban resort communities. Both Golf Canada and Cycling Canada call Bear Mountain home. Now you can too. Bear Mountain is pleased to introduce its newest landmark neighborhood, Elevate. Architecturally significant in its modern approach to design, discerning purchasers can enjoy condo living, combining a comprehensive amenity package with a choice of amazing views, all just minutes from Victoria. Visit bearmountain.ca.
Do you have an event that the world should see? Go live online with television quality and get thousands of viewers tuned into your brand. Book your broadcast at rollfocus.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the live stream broadcast of your 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup, as we bring you this feed live from the Bear Mountain Golf Course and Resort here in the city of Langford on Vancouver Island, all the way over on the west coast of Canada. Coming to you here on the microphone, myself, Graham Cox, and joined alongside Paul O'Callahan to bring you today's action this afternoon. Coming up, I guess we're still this morning, but coming up soon, we've got the start line there seen on our screen of the elite women's race here first, followed by the elite men to finish things up. So a full day of racing so far. And just to recap quickly, in the women's U20 race earlier, the first race of the day, we had Brooke Rauber from Team USA take the gold medal. And it's been an American celebration in the men's race as well, as taking top spot there was Corey Gorgas, also of Team USA. So it's gone America, America so far as we get set for this women's race here. A beautiful day of racing here out at Bear Mountain, and this incredible day as it goes alongside hand in hand with an incredible course. So for those who are just joining us here, Paul, tell us about what we have here in front of us on today's course.
Well, we have a 2-kilometre course here that's been laid out here at the back of the Bear Mountain Resort. It's a spectacular course. It's got undulations, steep hills, sand pits to run through. It's got elevation that stretches about 40 meters. Each lap is about 120 meters of elevation. So for these girls, it's going to be 600 meters of climbing today, which is very significant in a cross-country course. So this is a purist cross-country course. This is what the world governing body are looking for. They're looking for host nations and federations to promote this sort of course, and we've done a great job out here. This is a course that they can be proud of.
And they didn't know they wanted it, but sand traps are now going to come a must on the international
scene. Yeah, absolutely,
because we love that the diversity this course has to offer. As you can see there, the elite women. The most exciting race of the day for Paul here. You said earlier you were looking forward to this one. What can we expect? Who are we watching in this race as the women are now off and running?
Well, I am looking forward to this one the most. I think it's got the most depth of all the 4 races. We've got some truly world-class athletes in this. From Canada alone, we've got Genevieve Lalonde, who was Canada's first ever finalist in the 3,000 meter steeplechase at the World Championships in Doha last year. She's a real good strength athlete. I think this course will suit her. Looks like she's in the lead right now. She's just taken an early lead. We've got Canada's Natasha Wodak, who's been around for quite a while now, who's the Canadian 10,000 meter record holder. She's competed in Olympic Games. She's competed in World Championships. She's going to Tokyo as well. So Genevieve and Natasha will both be in Tokyo. So it's great to see both of those. We've got Maria Bernard-Gallet here from North Van. She was third behind Natasha and the winner Genevieve in the national championships in Abbotsford back in November. So what a trio of athletes we've got on the Canadian team. 1, 2, 3 in the national championship, but 3 world-class athletes.
And like we said, we showed you that story by Kevin Chirac from Czech News of Genevieve Lalonde earlier. We claim her as our own as she's moved and now calls Victoria home. So a little bit of local flavor, a little bit of local runners there from Team Canada. But of course, this field and this course, we've seen some unexpected winners. We've seen in Brooke, in Sadie getting second place, jumping from that third spot national Team Canada runner to second on the podium today. So this course can even things out a little bit as the hills and that challenge here, especially in this final climb towards that finish line.
And I look at the 2 American athletes as well, because they've got really good 10,000 meter PBs from the track. So that shows me they've got strength. We got Grace Graham Zamudio, who's from the Loyola Marymount area. She has a personal best of 33.46, but a little bit quicker than her was Sarah Pierce, who was 4th in their championships. She's got a 10,000 meter PB of 33.02. So we've got some classy runners on the American team as well. So it should be a good battle between the American women and the Canadian women today on a course that will suit quite a few of the athletes as well. But look for Genevieve. I think her strength and her confidence and moving out to Victoria now, I know now she's one of us. This is her home. She wants a home victory, not just a Canadian victory. She wants a home victory for the Victorian.
Absolutely right. And you can see the fans gathering in front of us here as well. You know, they're going to be cheering on the home crowd as well. So we'll watch for Genevieve Lalonde. This course, these women are going to be running 10 kilometers, so 5 loops of this 2-kilometer course. That works out to 6 miles for any American viewers for the translation there. But I do want to shout out, just in that gap, the crew putting this on, the Roll Focus crew, got Paul and myself on camera for a short moment in that gap. And for anyone watching at home, you may have seen us appear on camera. They were using the drone that they were using out on the course. Nice. So it was sitting here. It wasn't flying, but got us there on camera here for a short second. The creativity of this Roll Focus crew just impresses me as well. So putting on this lovely feed. There's the drone shot in action from up top. Some incredible camera angles, so good work on them as we come to you live from the CBC live broadcast on CBC Sports and Czech News. Graham Cox here with Paul O'Callaghan, and if you're just tuning in now, we are 4 minutes in to the elite women at the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. Everything's still a little bit of a cluster here as people start battling for position.
And it's early days, just 4 minutes into this race, and they'll be looking just to settle down, as I say, warming up on the course is so different to racing on it. And we've got Natasha Wodak and Genevieve Lalonde there, 1 and 2 for the Canadian national team there. They'll just be using that first lap just to get a gauge of how they're feeling, what the course is treating them like, because they'll be stretching out the athletes as well, but they'll be just settling in and waiting until probably about halfway through the race. You know, this is a 10,000 meter course, but they certainly won't be running what they're capable of on a 10,000 meter track race or 10,000 meter road course. You know, Natasha's got a best of around 31 minutes. She won't be running anywhere near that today. This nature of the course, she'll probably run 35, 36 minutes today, as well, you know, as will the winner.
And we'll keep an eye on the time, but as you mentioned earlier, the time's not the indicator because of all the different elements they're running in here. We've had this beautiful day up until this point. It's still sunny, so to speak, but we're getting a little bit of wind. Now, down in this valley, they might not be feeling what we're feeling here, but how does wind play into effect? When you're outdoors doing an event like this, you've got all the elements. You know, it's rain or shine, snow, wind. You know, does wind play a factor?
It does. I think it's probably the only time that you would draft behind an athlete. Like drafting, unlike cycling, doesn't really work. You know, you're not saving any. You know, in cycling, if you're drafting behind another cyclist, you're saving up to 20%. In running, that doesn't usually work. But when it's windy, it's good to tuck in behind someone, just so you're not getting that wind in your face. And it's, you know, you are saving a little bit of energy. So whenever it was windy, I always look for the biggest athletes. And athletes aren't that big, but I always look for someone a little bit bigger than me to tuck behind, just to shield me from the wind, and then come out of it. You know, when the wind changes direction or when the course changes direction, come out of it, get back on the front again. But I think, you know, Genevieve, you can see the flags now. Look at that, the wind is really picking up. So there will be a little bit of a factor because of the wind today, but not a great factor. You know, the course itself is enough of a challenge. But I don't think they'll be thinking too much about the wind. As we've seen Natasha there. A group of about 8 breaking away now, and I think it'll just be a steady increase in pace today. I don't think we'll see anything too dramatic, no heroics early on. We're not going to see anyone trying to break away, just because it's the accumulation of tiredness and lactic that will be building up in their legs. So it's just going to be nice and steady to begin with, getting measured for each other, and then I think, I would imagine Genevieve and Natasha have had a good discussion about this race. They're good friends as well, you know, they know each other really well. I know they've done some training together, so they'll be discussing their tactics, and they'll have something up their sleeve for a little bit later on in this race.
Now, one thing we haven't mentioned here is just in thought of the wind is you can see the fans in front of us bundled up. Everyone's, you know, a little chilly here with that wind chill. Total temperature today is 8 degrees right now. So these runners, although they've got the bare shoulders out, everyone else watching us, we're bundled up here. 8 degrees Celsius, of course, works out to be about 46 degrees Fahrenheit. So although the sun has been shining and we don't have the elements too much, it is still a little nippy.
It is, but when you're running, you don't even notice the weather, to be honest, because, you know, running is a sport that really does increase the body temperature. You only have to run for a few minutes, and you're so warm. You can see everyone there. No one's wearing a t-shirt under their singlet. No one's wearing arm warmers. No one's wearing big socks. They're just in their singlet and shorts, because really the conditions today are absolutely wonderful. This is pure cross-country weather. This is really good, a great cross-country course. We see Natasha Wodak now on the front. She'll be just keeping that pace nice and steady, nice and relentless, and athletes will drop off the back. We can see already that there's a group breaking away, about 6 or 7 athletes, and she doesn't have to do anything other than run her own race, run at her own pace, because already she's putting runners under pressure, and if she just keeps it nice and steady, after 3 laps of this sort of pace and this terrain, athletes will be dropping off the back anyway, just because they're not in that same class. They haven't got the same times, they haven't got the same credentials, and they're already hanging on. We can see they're running in single file. So Genevieve and Natasha just have to do the same thing that they're doing now. They don't have to do any different until the 4th and 5th lap.
Of course, we mentioned those two names quite a bit throughout this cast, and there you can see them sitting 1-2, Natasha Wodak and Genevieve Lalonde of Canada leading out here as we hit the 8 or just about the 9-minute mark. Now these women have been on the course as they pursue the total 10-kilometer distance here at Bear Mountain for the elite women's class of this race day at the Pan American Cross Country Cup. Just in recapping here, so far today we had Brooke Rauber of Team USA take the U20 women's, and Corey Gorgas, also of USA, take the men's U20. So you know the fans here, the local community, although they know Genevieve Lalonde is theirs, they would love to see a Canadian win as 2 Americans have topped the podium. They want something to cheer about, of course, and it looks like there are fans from other countries here as well, but of course predominantly a Victorian running community out to support the racers today.
Yeah, so I expect Natasha and Genevieve to be on the front for most of this race now. It looks like in third place there is bib number 52, and that is Zari Graziel from Brazil. Nice to see her up there as well. So yeah, just keeping it nice and steady. No heroics just yet. We're only 10 minutes into this race. There's a long way to go yet. I expect the winning time around 35, 36 minutes. But yeah, this could be a good day for the Canadian women's national team today.
And of course, we did mention the transition over to the Olympics and different events, but just when you finish up your season as a veteran runner like this, the U20 runners looking to springboard or possibly show off and you know, take that next step and show what they can do. These runners, what's their mindset with this race?
Well, it's always nice to win something because it just gives you that motivation. This isn't the biggest race that Natasha or Genevieve will run today, or some of the American athletes, but it's an important race. It's something they want to do well in. Whenever you pull on a national singlet, you want to represent your country to the best of your ability. You want to try and win something. This is a really good opportunity for a Canadian lady to win a Pan American title, and that always looks good on the CV, on the resume. So that's really important for them. And the later you get into your career, like Natasha now is 36, 37 years old, so she knows she hasn't got that long left at this level. She's been a tremendous servant to the Canadian team, but it would be great to win this title. One of them will win it. I'm very confident that Natasha or Genevieve will win it. But it would be, you know, for Natasha, her thoughts will be on Tokyo. But what a great thing to be able to do is to win a title and then go away. She'll probably stop racing after this for a little while and put in another training phase. Tokyo is her main goal. It's probably going to be her last Olympics. For Genevieve, it could be, you know, she's probably got another 2 Olympic Games cycles left in her. So they're at different stages of their career, but the race is just as important to both of them today.
Now, we've talked a lot about the benefits of having this race here in the community of Victoria and Langford, here on Vancouver Island. You know, it's great to see that an event like this is choosing here. But one thing we haven't talked too much about, which is great when you mentioned these Canadian runners here leading the pack, is how many Canadian runners of younger ages are here watching. You can see jerseys from local communities. You saw the kids run earlier. They're running the same course. To have somebody win that's from your country on home soil, where you can watch somebody who can run the same course, what does that mean for a young runner?
Well, when you're involved in the sport, everyone needs someone to look up to. You know, you think of triathlon and what Simon Whitfield did back in 2000 was it? Oh, it was the year 2000. It was Sydney, wasn't it? You think what that did for the sport of triathlon here. Simon was living in Victoria at the time. He put triathlon on the map in Canada. And there was a whole influx of youth into triathlon because of what Simon did, and we're still feeling that today. You know, I speak quite a lot to triathletes at different events, and Simon is still the guy they look up to because of what he did, and that's what these Canadian athletes, these youngsters, need as well. They need someone like Natasha or Genevieve to win today's race because again, it puts them in the spotlight. It's someone to look up to and someone to emulate. And that's really important in any sport. You want to be able to see people in the flesh that you know that, okay, they're no different to me. They've done it because of hard work and tenacity and longevity and persistence. And that's what the youngsters can take away from this. They can see them hurting out there. They can see them working out there and seeing it doesn't come easy. And I think that would be a great legacy for one of these two ladies today.
What's great about an event like this as well is just the access that you have as young runners. They can be right here at the finish line as these elites cross. You might see just being in that same proximity. There's no barriers to it. Great to see that as well for the young Victoria running community, that so many athletes are here watching, looking up to these two women as Canada still sits 1-2 in this elite women's race with Genevieve Lalonde and Natasha Wodak.
And just going back to that as well, it's about the coaches here as well. Like the coaches that are encouraging these youngsters are all former athletes themselves. So Bruce Deacon, the two-time Olympian, Gary Barber, who represented Canada in the Commonwealth Games, Lynn Kanuka, who's on the microphone, actually coaches Natasha Wodak, who's down on the course now. So there's a real link there. We'll probably hear some biased commentary if you're out on the course there. Yeah. But the athletes, the former athletes who are are now coaches are the ones that are really making a big effort with the kids out here as well. So that's really important, and that's great to see as well.
And I know nobody else really cares about this, but Lynn Kanuka and I actually have this weird distant connection. Me, myself, not being in the running community, went to university with her eldest son, and we met, and it turns out we bump into each other today. So even outside the sports world, it goes full circle, and you can cross paths. So great to see Lynn here as well. And the women hitting the 15-minute mark of this race, as you estimated, about 30 to 35 minutes roughly for this one. So almost halfway done as we kind of get into this 15-minute mark. If you're thinking this is a halfway course, as an athlete, as these two, are they going to want to make a move now, or is this too soon?
For Genevieve, it's probably not going to be too soon because she's confident in her ability. This is her sort of course. She's a real strength athlete. Her specialist track event is the 3,000 meter steeplechase, and that is such a tough event on the track. You're going over multiple barriers, you're going through a huge water jump, and it's 7.5 laps, 3,000 meters of pure torture. This is right up her street, today's course. You can see her now. She's beginning to break away from Natasha, who's got a fantastic 10,000 meter PB. Also in third place there is bib number 41, that's Carrie Verdon, who's got a half marathon PB of 74.44. So she's a good strength athlete as well. So the top three athletes are all strength-based athletes. There'll be some speed athletes in there as well, you know, some maybe 1,500 meter, 3,000 meter specialists, and this course would not suit them. You know, the course they ran on in the national championships might have suited them, which is why they're on the team. But today's course is so different to what they would have run on. But for Natasha and Genevieve, this is perfect for them. You can see Genevieve now, she's running away from we're coming up to the 16.5 minute mark, and Genevieve has got a good few meters, but this gap is not a winning gap yet. Natasha is never beaten at this stage. I've seen Natasha come back from bigger gaps than this, but this is about being a Canadian 1-2. This is what this is all about. And Natasha might have said to Genevieve, you go ahead, you do the front running, I'll sit back a little bit, a bit like cycling as well. I'll sit back a little bit and keep everyone else at bay. They're not going to go round me and chase you because they think I'm doing the chasing. So it could be, you know, could be playing mind games with the rest of the athletes as well. But what Canada wants is a 1-2 here today.
I noticed Natasha just pulled off one of her sleeves there. Is that and threw it onto the side? Does that mean she's getting too hot? Bothered by it? What would be the strategy of getting rid of those arm sleeves?
Yeah, well, she usually does wear arm sleeves, but as I said, because of this course and the hills, the body temperature is going to go much higher than it would on running on the flat. So I think she's just beginning to feel a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of, you know, a little bits of she needs to just get rid of them and just run with bare arms.
Well, there you go. We're bundled up, but they're bare arms out there on the course as they work a lot harder than we are up here in the booth, hitting that 17-minute mark. And there's a good shot of Genevieve Lalonde, who's taken this lead here just past the halfway mark of this race. Quite a big lead over Natasha Wodak, but like you said, nothing out of it. Natasha leading that second group of runners, which makes up about 10 girls there that could make a move at any time as well.
Yeah, it looks like Carrie Verdon now from the USA is just taking over the lead into the second spot there. So that's a little bit worrying because Natasha doesn't usually fall back. It's surprising to see her falling back. You know, not too long ago she was in second place. She had a good gap on the third place. She wasn't too far behind Genevieve, but look how good Genevieve looks. She's so relaxed. You look at the cadence there, you look at her arms, there's no signs of any stress in the shoulders. The first thing you look at when you're looking at a runner in the lead is, are they showing any tension? And the first place you look at is the shoulders. If there's tension in the shoulders, that can radiate down to the arms and then falls down to the hips. But she's absolutely smooth. There's no tension whatsoever. She's enjoying herself out there on this course. She's flowing over it really nicely. She's going up the hills really strong and maintaining the pace. And I think this is a move now that will be very difficult to catch. I know we're only 19 minutes into it, so we're just over the halfway stage, but she's looking absolutely tremendous.
So when you look at my shoulders, Paul, what do you see?
I see very good, strong shoulders.
We'll take it. Not carrying the tension here up in the
no
media
tension.
booth, right?
No tension.
We love it. 19 minutes, as you mentioned here, and if you're just joining us now, you are watching the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. Streaming live on CBC Sports and Czech News. Here in the booth, myself, Graham Cox, with Paul O'Callahan, and you are seeing right now the women's elites. This is everyone competing here for glory here at one of the most important events and races of the season. And we see it's Genevieve Lalonde of Canada, who is currently setting the pace. There she is. You can see her out front with a large lead here as we hit the 20-minute mark of this race.
Yeah, that's a huge lead now for Genevieve, coming up to 20 minutes, and she looks, she's running in splendid isolation now, isn't she? She's so far ahead of everyone, looking very relaxed. Natasha now is running in a pack of 3. I know one of them was Carrie Verdon. We're trying to get a number for the second American in that pack of 3. When we see that shot, we'll let you know who that is. But this is a big move from Genevieve. She was 3rd in the Pan Ams in the steeplechase back in 2015, so she hasn't got a title in the Pan Am Championships yet. This could be her first one. She was the Olympic finalist in the 3,000 metres as well, 3,000 metres steeplechase, I should say. She's the 2-time Canadian cross-country champion, so she's building quite the resume, and this would be a real big event to go onto that resume as we go into the Olympic season. And that's what we should be aiming for. This, what a springboard this would be for her training for the steeplechase at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
And if you were watching earlier, you would have seen the story run of Genevieve Lalonde, who now calls Victoria home, representing Canada. Canada and the USA having the biggest contingent in this race, but we do see runners from Mexico, Peru, Brazil, a couple other countries here, Puerto Rico. So everyone flying in from all over the place here to our little corner of the world on Vancouver Island, where we are broadcasting you live from. Again, an important race for these women. Some of these women going to the Olympics, but ultimately this is towards the end of the cross-country season. So you can see people will probably be out here giving it their all. Genevieve Lalonde getting that little hometown flavor. You can hear the support for her as she runs through some of the crowd here and the fans of hers. As we mentioned, calling Victoria home, although our broadcast is coming from the city of Langford, one of those neighboring cities, as we broadcast this to you live. Hitting the 21-minute mark now we are as this women's race continues to go on. And from the drone shot there, that gives you a great indication of how far out Genevieve Lalonde's lead is from that second pack, which is about 4 women with 2 trailers or 3 trailers of that secondary pack. But this one says Lalonde's running away with it as she strides pride and true, and as you mentioned, does not look like she's in any sort of pain. She looks very, very comfortable out there.
Yeah, this is a course that really suits her, and I am surprised to see her running away from it as early as she did, but she's obviously feeling really good about herself. As I say, she's working with Hilary Stillingworth now here on Vancouver Island in Victoria. So this will be a home victory. This is not just a Canadian victory. This is a victory for the Victorian community as well, who have embraced her, just like they do. The Victorian running community is really good at embracing people that come from all over Canada, in fact all over the world as well. I mentioned John Brown, who came from Sheffield in England, lived here for the last 20 years. And John's one of the 4th in the Olympic Games. But look at Genevieve, looking very relaxed, looking very smooth, absolutely no tension, running absolutely in just splendid isolation there. And the second pack behind her now, we've got Natasha Wodak, who's the Canadian 10,000 metre record holder. She's running with Carrie Verdon, who's got a 33-minute 10K best. And also in there as well is Tansy Listed from the USA. So we've got 2 Canadians and 2 Americans in the top 4.
So we've talked about the home soil thing here, and Genevieve Lalonde calling Victoria home. She's got some fans here, and of course that can always help boost. But living here on the island, you know what? This course isn't set up all the time. As we mentioned, this is a golf course. You can't just come and run and get familiar with the hills and get familiar with how this works. So what could Genevieve do, and what benefit does she have in living out here, training out here, and now running this race out here?
Well, there's a few things that will be at her advantage. Firstly, the climate, the weather, or you can run all year round in shorts. You know, you can be running in November, December, January, still in a pair of shorts.
And when you're playing golf at that time too.
Playing golf as well. Why not?
All the golfers were sad when they came and it was shut down today.
What a great golf course! One of the best around. But yeah, so you know, when you're able to do that, you're able to run at a faster pace. You know, if you're bundled up in tights and a toque and gloves and sweats and a jacket, you just can't generate the same amount of pace. So that's one advantage, that you can do that all year round. Another advantage is that Victoria is home to some of the greatest trails for runners. We've got so many trails all over the city. We've got some great hills. I think of Mount Doug Park, that's not too far from here. You can come out here to Mount Finlayson. There's so many places where you can do hill reps. And hill repetition training is a key component of training when you're a 10,000 metre runner. So that's another big advantage. Thirdly is the running community itself. You've got some of the best coaches out here, got some of the best, the BC Athletics Federation obviously out here. The national centres have got training hubs out here as well. So it's a real hub for the runners. So all those things go together to produce a great running environment.
Well, if we hadn't convinced the viewer yet, we probably just did. You got to move to Victoria.
Move
that's
to
basically,
Victoria.
that's it. You got to move to Vancouver Island.
It's a great place to come. Great place
it
to
is
come.
a fantastic place and a fantastic event. Very lucky here to secure the 2020 Pan Am Cross Country Cup and possibly races in the future. I know Bear Mountain would like to do more cross country events going forward, as this course, as you said, a tough one, a grueling one, a diverse one, an exciting one, and great for the viewers here as we got this little perch up on the valley. We can see it all, and you, the viewer at home, getting some lovely coverage here as we take a shot there of Genevieve Lalonde, the front runner from Canada here, leading the women's elite race as we hit the 25-minute mark here on this this wonderful course.
So I like to say, when you're at this stage of, if you're at this stage of a session or a race, you've broken the back of it. You're coming into the home straight. You've got 10 minutes running left, 11 minutes running left. She hasn't looked behind once, which is a good indication that she's superbly confident about what she's doing. She's not stressed. She's not bothered. She's not concerned about what's going on behind her. All she's concerned about is herself. So she's totally focused and concentrated now on her own performance. She's not concerned about what's going on behind. She's probably no idea what's going on behind in terms of placing. Yes, she knows there's athletes there and they're still chasing, but she's so confident with herself now that she's going to be running the next 10 minutes thinking, okay, the closer she gets, she'll be thinking more of it, but she'll be thinking of this Pan Am Championship title.
And that lead is extending. It seems to be growing. You know, what you just kind of touched on it there. What are the chances that somebody's able to come and take down this seems to be quite a massive lead from Genevieve Lalonde?
I think the chances are next to nothing. Maybe the same as you getting a hole-in-one.
You've never seen me golf. I don't know. Yes, that's probably true. I don't think it's possible.
But when there's an athlete, someone as established and classy as Genevieve, you don't expect them to blow up. She started off steady, which is another good indication. She didn't go hard from the start. She didn't try and run away from everyone. So she conserved her energy system. So she's used her strength. She's used that to her advantage. She gradually increased the pace, and she's just running away from them. As simple as that. She's got her fitness levels are above anyone else's, and she's really. This course was made for her. She's a strength athlete, so the hills are going to be her friends today. The hills aren't the friends to every athlete out there, but they're certainly her friends today.
When you don't have many friends like myself, I call the hills friends too, more often than not. But so there you have it, Genevieve Lalonde. It looks like this race is hers to lose as we hit the 27-minute mark here. As she's extended, we can now see her in view, probably about a 15-20 second lead over that secondary pack that's made up of 3 runners there. Just comfortable lead, like you said, not looking back as she climbs this hill here again in this grueling stretch of that track. Doesn't seem to phase her.
So from a Canadian perspective, I think we've got the winner, we've got the title. Okay, we can't say it until she crosses the line. The race is never over until you cross the line. But from a racing perspective, looks like Natasha is in the race itself. She's up against 2 Americans there. We got Carrie Verdin and Tansy Leisted, and we can see Natasha now in 4th place, and she's really hanging on there. So there's a real battle going on there, but let's focus on what we're seeing here, which is a wonderful display of front running. And people love a front runner. We go back to, people who are fans of the sport remember the great Steve Prefontaine in the 1970s, late 60s and 1970s. The guy loved front running. He had the mop of long blonde hair. He had the big moustache. And every single race, you know his tactics. Gun goes, he sprints to the front, he stays on the front for as long as he can. And he was a great front runner. And people love a front runner because you're putting yourself on the line, you're giving everything you can, and you're saying to everyone else behind me, come and get me, stay with me if you can.
And it probably helps if you have luscious blonde
And
locks
luscious
flowing.
blonde hair.
Really
Exactly.
Can't stay too close to him behind her. But I think that look, that long blonde hair, mustache look, needs to make a comeback.
I think it should make a comeback, yeah. Why not? Well, it does in November sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Genevieve Lalonde well out front. So right now it looks like the real race is going to be the battle for silver and bronze, as the question mark will be who takes the medals. But Genevieve Lalonde certainly looks like she's in position to get the gold.
Yeah, she's looking really strong, which is great to see. We're coming into the last 5 or 6 minutes of this race.
And it looks like we may have just lost our feed here for a second as we...
Maybe the generator went down or something.
Not too sure if we're still live here, but if you can hear us there, we will be working on getting the visuals back, having a little bit of wind glitch from our system. I don't think we are going to be live. Guessing that we're not. But
once we're off, it's off. This is a few seconds, a minute or so below. This is it's not completely live, he said.
We are on, so we've lost a visual here just on our monitor, but looks like we are still connected here. So if you can see us, Genevieve Lalonde still winning the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup for the women's elite bracket. Still to come later in the day, we've got our men's left over. So that will be the final race of our broadcast. We've done 4 big ones for you. A full day of racing, of course, even outside of the traditional races. But just in looking back here, as Genevieve Lalonde still well out in front to take the gold for the women here. Looking back, we had an All-American gold medal sweep so far in the U20s as Corey Gorgas took the U20 men's, and over on the women's side, it was Brooke Rauber taking it for Team USA as well. So a good showing from the American youngsters, and so far in the elite level, it looking like it will be Canada's first gold of the day as Genevieve Lalonde takes a big lead out in front. Still looking very comfortable as ever as we near the 30-minute mark of this race, and that will be the final stretch, and we'll see who takes the silver and gold. That is the question mark in this one. There was a pack of a couple of Americans, a couple Canadians. We'll see who those two slotting into second and third here as we get close to the finish line.
And it would be great to see Natasha come through and get that silver medal position, take that second place behind Genevieve, and same as the national championships back in Abbotsford, when we saw Genevieve win from Natasha, and there comes Genevieve Lalonde now looking really controlled. Up that final hill there, she was really struggling in terms of, it just shows you what it's taken out. This is going to take a lot out of the body just because of the nature of the course, all those undulations and the accumulation of tiredness. But she's looking really good now. She'll be glad she's over that final hill, coming up to the 31-minute mark and looking absolutely splendid.
There she goes, Genevieve Lalonde. That Victoria flavor, if you are just joining us now. But it's been a great race overall as the pack has really thinned out here, and she, sure enough, is making a statement with this run. What will this carry over to going into the Olympics? Big win like this. Will this be a massive confidence boost? Where is this going to fall in her sort of preparation for Tokyo?
Oh, she'll be delighted with this. Once to have a title of any sort, this is a big title. It's the biggest title that she could win this season. So she should win it. To win it, it'll give her a huge boost in motivation. She'll go back with her coach now, start preparing the next cycle of training, where the focus will be more on getting back onto the track now. She'll do a couple of road races, I would imagine, in the spring, and then start preparing for the track season. And Tokyo isn't until later in the season, so you have to be very mindful of when you start your phase that will take you to the pinnacle for Tokyo. So it's about working backwards. What she'll look at is the calendar and see when the Olympic steeplechase final is. Yes, the heats are important, but she's good enough to make the final. She made the World Championship final last year. So you work back from that date, and then you work out your cycles and start working out the type of workouts you need to do to replicate the Olympic final.
And now you mentioned Natasha Wodak, that this might be her final Olympics and the end of her Olympic cycle, and Genevieve Lalonde might be moving beyond this. But is this a passing of the guard? A race like this, is this an indicator of where Genevieve Lalonde's career is going to be going in the next several years?
I don't think so just yet, just because Natasha's still got a lot to give. So Natasha's focus might be on the half marathon and the marathon. She broke the Canadian half marathon record a few weeks ago with a fantastic time. She ran a 69-minute half marathon, which is an amazing time for someone, you know, coming into their late 30s. But when you've got the sort of background Natasha has, she can probably keep this going for another 5 or 6 years. And her goal then will be to break masters records. So when you turn 40, you become a master. So she'll be having those goals sight and set. Yes, the Olympics are important to her, but she'll still have another 4 or 5 years left in the sport, whereas Genevieve will be focusing on the steeplechase.
Now, for the untrained eye, for those listening at home, and for us not well versed in the cross country community, what is the average age of a runner's retirement? So you mentioned Natasha, 4 or 5 more years. You know, how late do people run at an elite level in cross country?
Well, the oldest ever world cross country champion was 38 years old. That was in 1985 when Carlos Lopez won the world championships in front of his home crowd in Lisbon. So imagine that, you're running in front of everyone, and I was there myself that day, and the crowd, there was tens of thousands there. It was amazing. Usually though, you know, it's early 30s when you reach your peak, but there's always exceptions. Bernard Lagat, who competes for the USA, he's trying to make his 5th Olympics. He's 45 years old. He's already been to 4 Olympic Games for the USA. He's trying to make his 5th.
Wow.
And the USA marathon trials are today, so it'll be interesting to see where Lagat finishes. But he's running better and better.
That's incredible. And now, from the Olympic perspective, you know, some things you got to be training for when you're 3. You know, you think gymnastics or figure skating. How, you know, as again, if there's somebody listening out there curious about getting into cross country or running, but they've never run before, you know, how late is it to get into a game like this?
Fantastic question. The coaches here will be aware of it. You don't want to be pushing kids at any young age. You've got to get them cross training. You've got to get them. Here comes Genevieve now coming into the finishing straight. I'll go back to that afterwards because that's a great question. But if you can just see Genevieve finishing, well, I would really like to touch on that.
Not a problem. We'll touch back on that as there's the shot, the drone up there of that secondary group of 3 women. It's spaced out now. I can't get a read on those, the second place position here, but it will for sure be Genevieve Lalonde crossing the line first here. Just over 37 minutes as she comes down that stretch to the roaring fans here, the hometown fans in support, and there it is. Genevieve Lalonde takes the gold of Canada and immediately hugged.
Look how tired she is. You don't usually see that from winners. You can see she's put in a big effort. She's relieved it's over. Looks like the American in second. I think that is Carrie Verdon. We'll get a name on her in a minute. I'm not sure where Natasha is. We can't see her in that shot, so maybe Natasha's back in 4th place now. Yes, indeed, that is number 41, and that is Carrie Verdon in 2nd place. A nice performance from her, the 74-minute half marathon runner, and she'll be delighted with that performance because she would be aware that Natasha and Genevieve will be the ones to beat. So a great performance there from Carrie Verdon.
And it looks like it was a Peruvian runner who just crossed by wearing the 48 bib in 3rd. Not 100% certain, but definitely in the mix there was 48. That is Lizada Talia Valdivia from Peru. We'll find out if she was the bronze or if someone else was there right before her. But Natasha Wodak seems to have been fallen out of the picture for Canada.
I haven't seen her cross the line yet. I'm looking across at the finish line, and I'm just concerned maybe that she hasn't finished. So we'll get some updates on that a little bit later on because Natasha was right in there for a long time. She was battling for that 2nd place. So, and she's not usually an athlete that pulls out of races. She always battles through to the end. In fact, I can't even remember Natasha not finishing a race there. So we'll try and get some updates on Natasha Wodak a little bit later on. But let's go back. Oh, there's Natasha now, number 34. So
she does have a flag. We'll get an official read here soon.
We'll see there. She doesn't look too happy with herself. But Natasha Wodak there just going over to the bench and just putting the flag down. She looks a little bit disconsolate. Okay, tough run in there, Natasha. Well done. So
we can tell you one thing though for certain: Genevieve Lalonde taking the gold medal for Canada. There's a shot of some of these runners. You can see, just touching back on what you were saying with Lalonde when she crossed the line, is the faces. You just saw somebody collapse as they crossed over. That grueling course. These elites will push through. They will fight to the finish, but then it all hits you after that, and you can see just from the faces of exhaustion that this is not an easy dig. So commendment to all of the athletes digging through on this very tough course here at Bear Mountain, as the women are finishing up, the elite women here at the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. Genevieve Lalonde taking the gold medal for Canada, and we'll hear from her shortly as we get an interview lined up. She'll take a second to recoup, but what a race that was from Genevieve.
Absolutely, she should be absolutely delighted with that. You know, she came in with a game plan. She would have stuck to that game plan. She knew this course would suit her. She had the strength, and she executed it really well. She'll go away from this absolutely delighted. It's her first Pan Am title. She was third on the track in 2015 in the steeplechase, and this will be a fantastic springboard for her preparations for the Tokyo Olympics. Bon chance, Genevieve.
There you go. Very nice pronunciation. I like it. Now, somebody who calls himself a mudder and is used to the steeplechase, is it weird to finish a race not covered in mud and soaking wet? Might be different where she doesn't need an instant shower.
Yeah, absolutely. But the hotel's right behind us anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they won't be looking for a hot shower. They'll be looking for a cold shower. It's amazing how many athletes, you know, we live on the ocean. A lot of athletes after their training sessions just go stand in the ocean for 10 minutes. Just, you know, leave their shorts on, leave their top on, take their pants off, just leave their shorts on and just stand in the ocean. Gets rid of all those micro tears, just helps the recovery process. So I would imagine Genevieve might even do that today.
Well, it's a smart thing for an athlete, a brave thing to go in the ocean up here as the temperatures of the Pacific Ocean around Vancouver Island hover around 10 degrees year round. It doesn't get too hot, doesn't get too cold. That's about 46, 48 degrees Fahrenheit. So not nice for us to swim in, even in the summer, but great for athletes. And I'm getting word now, we do have Genevieve Lalonde standing by, the winner of the elite women's race here at the Pan Am Cross Country Cup. Down at the finish line, let's go to Chris Kelsog with Genevieve Lalonde.
Let me see where.
Hi, I'm here with Genevieve Lalonde, winner of the 2020 Pan Am Cross Country Cup. Congratulations, Jen. And how does that sound to you?
Yeah, it sounds really good. You know, I moved out to Victoria in January and I've had some time to adapt to the local climate and become a local, and it's been incredible. I've got an amazing group of coaches, including Joël Bourgeois and local Hillary Stellingworth here, and together they've got 4 years of experience at the Games, at the Olympic Games, so this is a good start to the 2020 season, and we hope to keep it rolling throughout until the Olympics. So.
Yeah, and speaking of the Olympics, you qualified 17 days after the window opened, May 1st, May 18th. You ran under the standard and improved the Canadian record. So you've been able to relax since then, but you got to get back into that kind of form again. With Tokyo potentially being postponed or canceled, what are your plans? Are you going to hold off peaking, or how's that going to play?
Oh, we're gonna keep training like we're training. You know, I'm already doing some hurdle work and getting on the track a little bit. So, you know, this was just a fun race that I got to do. And, you know, we have done some cross-country work, so I was ready for these hills today. As for the Olympics, you know, we're going to keep going like we're going. You know, I'm not going to stop running just because of things happening around the world. And, you know, we're here to inspire youth and to inspire people in general, and that's our job. So, you know, we're going to keep running and training because, you know, ultimately we hope that the games happen. And, you know, if not, there's going to be another competition. So, yeah, we're going to get ready regardless. And I just want to keep chasing that Canadian record. I want to keep breaking it. You know, I want to get it as low as possible. So, ultimately, you know, we're just going to keep racing.
Yeah, that's great. And, you know, you're a true Canadian. You're born in Montreal, raised in Moncton, went to Guelph University. You're a Griffin, and then post-collegiate for a while there. And now you're on the West Coast. So talk about the West Coast environment. Yesterday we had very heavy rains. Are you rain adapted?
Yeah, well, I'm all weather adapted. You know, growing up in the Maritimes, you're used to pretty much everything. And then living in Ontario, I got used to the ice. Then I spent a few months up in the Arctic, so I've experienced really all kinds of Canadian weather. And the West Coast is just beautiful, and you know, we get all kinds. So the rain was, yeah, dampened the course a little bit. It was a little bit mushy and gave way a little bit, but ultimately it was a really good race. And you know, congratulations to my team. It's great to have such great support around there. And coming up this hill, we had such good crowds. So the Victoria group, you know, I'm really proud to be living out west right now and be here with my friends and family.
Well, that's great. And talk about the race tactics today. You got this monster hill. You really, you were with Natasha Wodak and a couple others for a while there, but you really took a lead fairly early in the 10K race. How did that factor into your race tactics?
Yeah, ultimately I wasn't planning on taking it so early. We were trying to keep it tempo for a while. However, going up the hill, I just kind of kept my rhythm, and it kind of made a gap. So, you know, I took it a little bit earlier than I would have liked to. However, I was just kind of keeping it smooth, and ultimately the gap just kept growing. So, you know, I'm used to a lot of hills. Being a steeplechaser, you're used to that change in rhythm. So it played to my advantages for sure.
Great work here. Thanks for this, and good luck with your outdoor track season planning for Tokyo.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Tasha going up that final hole was in third place. I thought she looked a bit distressed early on, you know, even throwing the arm warmers off. When an athlete's doing that, there's something wrong, because you pick your attire, you think you're going to be okay with it. But she looked a little bit tense today. She didn't look as, normally she runs a lot more relaxed, she looks more confident. But I think she was under pressure. Once she fell off Genevieve's pace and she was back with Carrie Verdon and the Peruvian, I think she just got under pressure there. And I was surprised. I was surprised to see her finish in fourth place. But we saw her afterwards as well. She walked in front of our commentary table. She looked distraught. She looked a bit upset. And that's a good sign. You know, at least she can go back to the drawing board and say, what did I do wrong? Why did I finish fourth? What can I do over the next few weeks to make sure that I get in good preparation for the Olympic Games?
That is absolutely right, and I mean, a true professional here. She knew she was upset with herself, and she came in front of our media booth in isolation. She was away from her coach, away from all the fans. She took a second to just sit here in front, look out on the course, and reflect on what just happened. And you know, as a professional athlete, there, she's going to go back to the drawing board, like you said, but almost use this as fuel. Use this as a propeller her forward.
Yeah, you've got no choice. Yes, okay, she finished fourth. She doesn't have to accept it. She can do something about it. What will probably confuse her is she's in great shape. She set the Canadian record recently for the half marathon. She was second in the National Cross Country Championships. She won the Pioneer 8K out here in her second fastest ever time. That was back in January on the road. So she knows she's in great shape. So she'll just be a bit disconsolate that on a course like this she struggled. And it probably is the course. It's down to that. You know, she runs very well on flat courses. She's a track runner. She's a road runner. So this is a little bit different. Genevieve, it suited. Just didn't suit Natasha as well today.
Well, and there, speaking of Genevieve, you can see the top three runners there with the medals around their necks, smiles on their faces, and congratulations to those three women who have just gotten their medals here. And we should say one last thing about Genevieve Lalonde. She knew it. The crowd cheered her. There's a big contingent out to see her, and she said she's so happy she can be a leader and an inspiration for this young Victoria running community. So great for Genevieve. Look there now, the men. The elite men off and running, already moving along here, so things well underway as the men take off the finish line here. They've got the same distance, 10 kilometers or 6 miles to run on this course, this tough course we've mentioned here from Bear Mountain, as we bring you the live stream of the Pan American Cross Country Cup here from Bear Mountain in Langford, Vancouver Island, all the way on the west coast of Canada. And when we look here at this men's field, the final race of our broadcast today, what are we expecting here, Paul?
Well, we have some very classy athletes in this. We've got the 5 times NCAA champion, former Kenyan Anthony Rotich, who's one of America's greatest athletes. He's been running really, really well. He got his US citizenship back in 2019, and he's from Eldoret, which is it's the breeding ground really of all of the Kenyan athletes. Eldoret is the place. There's a high school there called St Patrick's High School, and they've had the same coach for the last 30 years, brother Colm O'Connell from Ireland, and he set up a coaching academy back 35 years ago. And for a high school, their alumni have more Olympic champions than any school in the whole world. It's incredible. It's a little school in a village, and I've seen their list of winners on their board, and it's a who's who of the global running community. That's where Anthony Rocic is from. He's running, as I say, he's got his US citizenship back in 2019. The Americans have got a really strong team in this. We've got Nick Hoger, from Portland. He's got a 29-minute PB over 10,000 meters. We have Dylan Maggard, who's got a 13:30, probably the fastest 5K runner in the field, actually. So look out for him. Last summer he ran a 3:57 mile, so he's got really good speed as well. On the Canadian team, we've got John Gay from Kelowna, who ran in the World Championship steeplechase last year. He was 5th in the Canadian cross-country champs this year. Look out for Connor Black as well from Ontario, who was 3rd in the National Cross Country Championships. But the one runner I'm really looking forward to seeing run today is Kieran Lum. 3 weeks ago in Boston, he ran a U23 Canadian record over 3,000 meters. He ran 7:45 for 3K, which is the 5th fastest ever in Canada. So if he can translate that form on the track to this course, Kieran could become the winner, could become the champion. But it's hard to do.
We'll keep, it certainly is with the different environment here, of course. We'll keep an eye on Kieran. One thing, just as an overall observation from watching the other 4 or 3 races before this one, it seemed all of those ones started with sort of a bit of tentative, a bit of feeling it out, looking over the shoulder, slowing the pace. This one seems like people are pushing this pace a little bit faster right out the gates.
Yeah, I think the Americans have got such a strong team that, you know, they would have discussed their tactics beforehand. They've been here for a few days at the Bear Westin Hotel, and yeah, they'll be making sure that they're trying to run the legs, because they know Kieran's got speed. Kieran's a 7:45 3K runner. He's probably the fastest runner speed-wise in this field. The way to get rid of the speed athletes is to run the legs off them, and by that I mean you keep a relentless pace. So when it comes to the sprint, the lactic acid's high. They've put so much work in. The accumulation of work they've put in will just take the edge off that sprint, so it's not there. And it's what Lassie Viren did. You know, I'm a bit of a historian on the track. Lassie Viren, who was the double Olympic champion over 10,000 meters in 72 and 76, was never the fastest man in the field on paper. He ran the legs off people. He ran the speed out of people by getting on the front and winding the pace up lap by lap by lap. That's probably what the Americans are going to try to do to Kieran.
Well, we've now just hit the 5-minute mark here, so a long way to go in this one. We'll check back with the men here in a second, but let's go to the top 10 results of the women's race that just occurred right before this one. There you can see Genevieve Lalonde of Canada taking the top spot, followed by Carrie Verdon of the USA and Lizada Talia Valdivia from Peru, your 3 medalists. But there's your top 10 results. What a race it was from the women.
Do you have the men's numbers?
Now we're back here onto the course at Bear Mountain. The sun holding up on us. I see a couple ominous clouds in the distance, but nothing that seems rain-like here. So it looks like we're going to have sun right through this event, as the men will be the final race of our broadcast from Bear Mountain here in the city of Langford on Vancouver Island, all the way from the west coast of Canada, bringing you the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. Here in the booth, you're listening to Graham Cox, myself. Joined with me is former Olympian himself, Paul O'Callaghan. And Paul, I want to go back to what you mentioned here when you were talking about the Kenyan runners. Now, the Pan American Cup does not feature those African nations, but you were talking talking to me about the sport and how dominant those African nations have been over the last 20 years.
Yeah, they have been. When they first hit the scene, the big athlete to first hit the scene was Kip Keino in 1972. He won the 72 Olympics over 1,500 meters, and he was really the catalyst for athletes in Kenya and Ethiopia and Tanzania, but mainly Kenya, to look at their countrymen and say, wow, look what he's done, we can do that too. So in the early 80s, agents started coming into the sport. So agents scouted out athletes that they would send to different races around the world. They would negotiate appearance money for them. They would take a cut of their prize money. And the agents started going into Kenya and looking at different places, looking at the Kenyan championships, and bringing Kenyan athletes to Europe and to North America. Mainly Europe, because that's where the money was. So that was so successful. The Kenyans would go back home, go back to their villages, and other athletes then would try to be like them. And the same thing happened in Ethiopia as well with Haile Gebrselassie. So the agents started bringing more and more athletes over. And then the proliferation of agents just exploded. And then they had big stables of Kenyans all over the world. And we've had them in Canada as well. We have them out in Lethbridge in Alberta where there's a few Kenyans training. And their ability, because of their upbringing and the environmental factors and the hereditary factors, they were just suited to running really well over long distance races. So they came over to Europe and North America, started winning all these races, and it just proliferated from there. They went back, and then kids would see it, and they'd join clubs. And when you go down to a track in Kenya and see them training, there's hundreds and hundreds of them on the track. You don't see that here. You just get, you get 20 or so, but there's hundreds over there. And they're so good. I was looking at one of the stats recently that last year 200 Kenyans broke 2:10 for the marathon.
Incredible.
In Canada, that's our national record. One athlete has ever broken 2:10, just one, ever. In Kenya, 200 in one season broke 2 hours 10. But we were talking earlier about Eliud Kipchoge, who ran 1:59.52 for the marathon.
Sub 200, 2-hour marathon.
Sub 2-hour marathon. So 2 hour 10 in Kenya is nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't even get you near the national team.
So,
to get on the national team in Kenya, you have to be running 2:02, 2:03. That's the only way you get on it.
That's incredible.
2:10 it's like our club standard here.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible. So, of course, a domination from those African nations on the long-distance running scene, the cross-country scene, as you mentioned as well. But here with the Pan Ams, we will see a non-African nation take medals because they are not included with this cup, and it could be anyone's race here as the pack still seems to be quite close together with the elite men out on the course as we speak here, hitting the 9-minute mark, almost the 10-minute mark here of this race, as the men are out there well into it already, and not a huge lead developed yet from the front runners.
No, but we're talking, in our last race we saw Genevieve Lalonde win quite convincingly, and we talked about her steeplechase background. Well, it's the same here with Anthony Rotich, who's became a US citizen in 2019. He has a 3,000 meter steeplechase best of 8 minutes 21, which is world class. It wouldn't get him on the Kenyan team, might not get him on the American team for the World Championships, because the Americans have actually got one of the best steeplechasers in the world in Evan Yeager, who can compete with the Kenyans. He's right up there with them. Evan Yeager will be looking for a medal in Tokyo. But Anthony will be close. He could be top 5, top 6 in the American trials. He might even make that team for Tokyo. But my point is that he's got that steeplechase background. Steeplechasers will run well on this course, because when you run a steeplechase on the track, it's a breakup of rhythm. You're over the barriers, you're slowing down, you're speeding up, you're through the water jump. So they're used to that breakup of rhythm. They're used to going fast, slow. This is what this course is all about. It's a breakup of rhythm. It's about going fast, slow. That's why the steeplechasers will run well on this course.
Well, and we saw it, like you said, with Genevieve Lalonde, a steeplechaser, dominating the women's race, significantly taking that top spot there, ran away with it. And it was about the 15-minute mark that Lalonde made her move. Like, can we see, we're 11 minutes into this men's. Will it be a similar time where we see a runner break off, or is this group going to kind of stick together?
Well, we've got Rotich on the front right now, and he is one of the favourites. He'll be aware of Kieran Lum's speed, And Rotich being the strength athlete that he is and the 8:21 3,000 meter steeplechase athlete that he is, he'll want, I mentioned earlier, he'll want to keep a nice relentless pace. The change in rhythm, the change in pace will come from the course. Slow up the hill, fast down the hill. Undulations up and down as well with the rhythm. So Anthony Rotich is used to that. Kieran Lum isn't used to that. But his target will be to try to run the legs off Kieran Lum. He doesn't have to do anything crazy. He doesn't have to get out front and get a 20-meter gap or 30-meter gap, because he knows it will be that accumulation of pace that will affect the runners behind him. Going into that last lap, we'll see that group will be broken down. You know, I expect to see maybe just 6-7 athletes left going into that last lap, because it is about breaking the rhythm.
And there was a nice, just seconds ago, a nice shot from the drone. The coverage here bringing you, again, live the Pan Am Cross Country Cup from Bear Mountain Resort and Golf Course all the way on the west coast of Vancouver Island. On the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island. For those tuning in from beyond our borders, that's where we are. A lovely day, and there's a great shot of this course, this fantastic course. We've talked so much about it over the broadcast. The men, the elite men, the cream of the crop here for the male runners, out on the course right now as we round the 13-minute mark here. Still anyone's race as we get towards that halfway point.
And who's running well in this right now is number 4 from Brazil, Gilberto Silvestre Lopez, who finished third in their national cross country championships. So he's having a great run. You know, to finish third in your nationals and to be in the lead pack at the Pan Ams is a big step up as well. So kudos to him. You know, he's trying to stay with Anthony Rotich there.
And there you go. Just love those aerials. Love that drones. Amazing what the camera work has done from our crew, but just where technology is being able to offer you these aerial shots and this complete coverage of this course, which dips and weaves and isn't easy to get eyes on all corners of it. But this is why we have drones. This is where putting a camera with wings makes it very interesting to watch as that lead pack now consists of about 3 runners there, and we'll get to a read on those bib numbers. There's a shot of the drone. That's what our drone looks like.
Good.
It looks great.
So I think the top 3 right now, we got Anthony Rotich, who's wearing bib number 29. He's followed by Michael Jordan from the USA as well, bib number 26. And in third place is Gilberto Silvestre Lopez. And looks like Lopez is just taking the lead now, so we'll get some confirmation on that as well. We're on our second lap of 5 in this 10,000 meter course. There's Lopez and Jordan. And I do believe that Kieran Lum has not started this race today, so that's unfortunate. So a bit of a weakened Canadian team there because of the non-appearance of Kieran Lum. Obviously decided he's going to concentrate on the rest of the indoor track season.
There you go. We should make a clarification. This is not the Michael Jordan from the Chicago Bulls.
No,
Very
it's
different
not.
Michael Jordan, but maybe it comes with the name, having a successful race here.
Imagine being called Michael Jordan though, and people are Googling him to see, I wonder how he's running.
Oh yeah. Good luck showing up on the Google search.
I think I'd change my name to Mickey Jordan.
Or Mike Jordan.
Or Mike
even,
Jordan,
right?
yeah.
Something
just
a
not
little
Michael.
different.
Just not Michael.
Yeah, that's you got a lot of pages to weed through of other Michael Jordan factors there. But this Michael Jordan out here from USA also having a great race today as that front pack thins out a little bit there, but still those 4 now, 4th runner joining up there. Once again, we'll try to get a read on these bibs, but 4 runners in this lead pack for the men's elite race here on the 2020 Pan American Cup, Cross Country Cup, I should say. It looks very comfortable. All 4 of those guys looking like they're in a good position and feeling good about their run so far. No tension, no stress. Seems to be at a quick pace as well.
Yeah, it's a really good pace actually. So number 6 is Johannes de Oliveira Cruz from Brazil.
So that lead pack, we've got 6, 5, and 4. 3 Brazil runners out in that front group there. Brazil having a nice showing in this race, sending a good contingent up to this event as well. Several runners, about 15, 16, I believe we saw from Brazil. So a nice representation from the South American country. And in this race, we've got bib number 5. That's Daniel Ferreira de Nascimento. Pardon my pronunciation on any of these names, just anyone who might be listening. I am doing my best here. And also we have bib number 6 from Brazil, Jonatas de Oliveira Cruz. Might be saying that one wrong too.
I think you did a good job there.
There you go.
He has a 5,000 meter PB of 14:13. So, you know, nothing spectacular. If you compare his PB over 5K to the Seoul American now in that lead pack, Anthony Rotich, he's way slower on paper. But you know, it just shows that this course is a leveler as well. It levels. It doesn't matter what time you've done on paper, because this course is about it's leveling out everyone's ability. How well can you run on a course like this? So it's good to see the Brazilians running as a team race as well.
Yeah, we saw that in the U20 men's, the Americans with that pack of 3 up there, and they finished gold, silver, 2 Americans in that race. We'll see what Brazil can do with that team of 3 leading the pack here in the men's elites. And we're just rounding form into 17 minutes, almost the 18-minute mark of this one. So once again, we haven't seen one person put their foot down and take stride. Do we think this pack is going to stay together from your thoughts, or do we see one person trying to make a move here in this back stretch?
I think the Brazilians are running as a team. You know, they probably want the team title. They know what Rotich is like on paper, so they're going to try and run the legs off Rotich, but that's going to be a hard thing to do. Rotich is a very classy athlete. Looks like there's a bit of a move being made as well. So it looks like the top 3 are trying to break away, but the Americans are coming back through again as well as a team. So it's early days. Look, we're coming up to the 18-minute mark. We saw Genevieve complete this course in 37 minutes. Expect to see these runners come around in about 34, 35 minutes, so a couple of minutes quicker than Genevieve. But there's still a long way to go in this race. We're probably just at the halfway stage now as we're coming up that hill again for the 3rd time. And each lap will just take a little bit more out of them. I think Anthony Rotich, you know, on paper he is the favourite. All he has to do is sit there, relax, let the Brazilians do the work, which is what Rotich is doing right now. He's taking close order, but he's not doing anything out of the ordinary, just sitting back there in 3rd place, making sure that he's paying close contention to them. But, you know, this race is nowhere, these medals aren't decided yet, because any athlete running 4th, 5th, 4th, 6th can come through very strongly. If they've gauged their effort just right, anything can change on the last lap.
And that second pack still close, only about 5 strides off that lead pack right now. So like you said, anything can happen, but it is Brazil sitting 1-2, followed up by Team USA in 3rd. But that Brazilian team, we have lost one of those Brazilian runners who was up there in that pack of 3, but they still sit 1-2, looking strong with USA right behind. And that second pack looked like it's closing the gap a little bit on those lead runners.
They're coming back together, so, you know, that shows me that the Brazilians on the front are
slowing down.
Yeah, they're slowing down. They're not doing anything too drastic just yet. They certainly slowed down over that last 600, 700 meters because the pack came back to them. That pack did not speed up. I didn't see anyone putting in big effort because it wasn't strung out. They were still running side by side, yet they still caught that lead pack. So this is an exciting second half of the race that we've got just coming up to us. Rotich, for me, is still the favourite. He's still looking nice and controlled, nice and relaxed. He's not doing anything, and that shows me that he's just biding his time. We still got... There he is now, just Rotich now, just drifting onto the front without doing anything. He's just nice, maintaining a nice steady pace, yet he's just drifted onto the front there. Looks like our second American now has just jumped into 3rd place. We'll get a name for that runner very shortly as well.
But it does look like Rotich is in position. You said leading into it that he was the favorite on paper, and he's right there running with that Brazilian runner, and they're 1-2, and it looks like those two are starting to pick up that pace and starting to extend away from that pack here. And could this be the move for Rotich to hammer home the lead?
And if it comes into the finishing straight as well, Rotich is a 3:59 miler. So he's got the speed. Looks like number 6 now, just making his move. That's Johannes de Oliveira Cruz. So nice to see him on the front, still not being intimidated by Cruz, which is great to see. And he was second in his national cross-country championships. His personal best for 10,000 meters is only 29:47, and I say only 29:47 because that's not national class, let alone world class. Rotic is a world-class athlete. So we've got two athletes at different ends of the spectrum, yet they're head-to-head in a battle. Bit of a tete-a-tete going on with what I would say is an inexperienced novice type athlete against someone who's much more experienced. A bit of a heavyweight, yeah. It's not quite the Tyson Fury fight that we saw last week. You know, two athletes very close in ability. These two athletes out here are quite at the different ends of the spectrum.
A David and Goliath story,
absolutely.
If you will. There you go.
It absolutely is. You know, this guy's only done 29:47 on the track. And Rotic is a minute quicker on paper. So
Yeah.
it's a huge difference.
It is the Brazilian taking the lead.
It's great to see, unless the stats I have are wrong in front of me, because he's running way quicker than his form book suggests. And as I say, he was second in the Brazilian championships. So, you know, he's stepped up to the plate here today. Obviously, a course that suits him. Looks like him and Rotic now are really making a big move. We're coming up to the 23-minute mark. So we're probably about 7.5K done in this 10K race. And we really are now coming into the last quarter of this race.
Well, what a run here from the Brazilian Johannes de Oliveira Cruz, having a fantastic race alongside Anthony Rotic there as the 1-2 punch. Brazil, USA here from your 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup. The men's elites on the course here, about 3/4 of the way done or so, give or take. But this is the time we will start to see the push as they come around. There you see it, Brazil and USA 1-2 punch in this race, coming down into this final stretch of this race as we hit the 23-minute mark of this men's race. Probably about 7 to 10 minutes left of running from the front pack here as we broadcast to you live on CBC Sports and Check News right from this beautiful sunny day here at Bear Mountain Resort on Vancouver Island, all the way on the west coast of the country of Canada. If you're tuning in from Brazil, you are looking at your own countryman out in front leading this men's elite race.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He'll be absolutely delighted. Will be the 21 years old, so much younger than Rotic. So, you know, this guy's on an upward trajectory. He's on an upward curve. So good for him. He's running really well. As I said, he was just second in the Brazilian cross-country championships with a 32-minute time there back on the 18th of January. His times are fairly modest, just a 10,000 meter PB in the national championships at 29:47. So it is, as you mentioned earlier, this is a bit of a David and Goliath fight. Rotic is the man with form on paper, but Brazilian is showing an improvement in form, and this will be a great moral victory for him. Whether he finishes first or second, I think he'll still take a lot away from this performance. He'll be delighted. If he can hold on to second, might even win it, but he'll take a lot from this performance to show that he's capable of staying with someone like Rotic, who's a 5-time NCAA champion.
Well, and there you have it, and this is the kind of place that you can see breakout stars on the international stage. This could be the rising of a new Brazilian phenom in the cross-country world of running. From what we're reading here, it looks like he's breaking onto the scene at this race right in front of our very eyes. As we still have a 1-2 race, it looks like this is down to those two as they extend that lead. The second pack now not in view from that front shot from our cameras right now. So these two side by side, neck and neck, and it has been like this since about the 17-minute mark as these two kind of have stepped away from that pack.
Yeah, and they're showing their class. You know, again, the course is huge in what it does to all the athletes. You know, we're seeing big gaps now, and a Brazilian, de Oliveira Cruz, looking really good. He's the 21-year-old who was born in São Pedro de Faros in Brazil. Of course, known for their soccer, some of the greatest soccer players in the world. Nice to see some runners. In fact, you know, they've got some history as well. The De Santos held the world record for the marathon some 20 years ago. So they have had runners that have been world class in the past. And the great marathon runner did really, really well back in the 90s before the Kenyans started the stranglehold of that particular distance.
And we've had a nice just showing from Brazil at the past international events as they hosted not only the FIFA World Cup but also the Olympics back in 2016. And once you host, as we know from Canada when we hosted in 2010, you get a whackload more athletes at that event, and they just showed well for their nation and their country as they are today, as right now leading the men's cross-country race here at Bear Mountain.
I wonder was there any riots when Brazil lost 7-1 to Germany? Just like
that's something they don't want to reflect on here. That's for sure. But I do got to say, hey, if you've tuned in for cross country, you're getting all sorts of sports. We've brought up Michael Jordan, we've brought up figure skating, we've brought up soccer. So there you go. References coming at you. We're not just a one-trick pony here.
Absolutely not. But this is a great race now. Look at this: Brazil versus USA, the youngster versus the elder statesman.
That's it, the veteran. And now somebody from Brazil, are they getting word, if you're a cross-country runner, in Brazil, have you heard of Anthony Rotich? Have you heard that name? Do you keep tabs on it as a young runner, or, is this a sport where you kind of are just focused on your own ability?
No, absolutely, especially going into the Pan Ams. You look at the teams, you'll get the rosters of every team, you'll be looking at who the danger would be. Rotich is well known because of his exploits on the American roads and on the American track, so he'll be well aware of Rotich as well, and he'll know now. He'll know about Rotich's speed. He'll know he's a 3:59 miler. He'll know, which is what he's doing. He's trying to run the legs off Rotich. He'll know if it comes down to the last 100, 150 meters, that Rotich will have that turn of speed to be able to increase the cadence. But what he's doing here, and we've seen it done in earlier races, is he's trying to run the legs off him. But look how good Rotich looks as well. He's just loping along there.
And we can see them running in front of our booth now as they get into this back half of the final lap of this race. And the Peruvian runner looks like he's bringing up in third. The second pack has spread out quite a bit, so we will see how that finishes there. But when it comes to the gold and silver, we know the two names we've been focusing on this whole race. Something drastic has to happen for either one of those two to drop off.
In third place right now is the American Dylan Maggott, who's got a 13:35K best as well. Also a quicker miler than Rotich. He's got 3:57 to his best, so he's doing really well as well. And then in fourth place is number 23, that's Paul Ramirez from Peru. And in fifth is 25, and that's David Goodman from the US. So the US have got 3 athletes in the top 5.
A strong showing from them, and they also had their strong showing in the U20 men's as well. So you gotta like, if you're an American coach, you gotta like what you see from your men's program.
Yeah, they'll be really pleased as well. And we think about, today we've got the US marathon trials taking place. So they're naming their team for Tokyo this weekend, and in America it's always the first 3 past the post. So it's a real brutal trial system. If you're off form or if you're a little bit injured, you can miss out on an Olympic berth because of that. But that's the way it is, and the athletes know that. So these athletes, they're not quite at that standard, but they're certainly using this as a springboard to be able to get to that standard one day. But what a great race we've got here. Just again, 1 and 2. We don't know who's going to win this. Rotich just slipped back again into that drafting position behind the Brazilian. But yeah, it's going to be, this is a hard call because they both look really strong. They both look good.
Could we see a photo finish coming down to it, or will somebody have enough of a lead that it won't be? Have you ever seen anyone diving across and having to photo finish in cross country?
I have. I've seen that in cross country. It's crazy. I remember the World Cross Country one year. 4 athletes crossed the line together side by side.
Oh, wow.
It was an amazing race. They had to use photo finish to separate them. And the higher up the level you get, the closer the races become. Unless you're a Kipchoge.
Right.
Because he's so far ahead of the
sub 2-hour marathon runner.
So far ahead. But that even in marathons nowadays, you're looking at the 202, 203, 204 runners. There's 3 or 4 so close to each other, especially with the new shoes as well. The new shoes are making a huge difference to the times being run. Doesn't make any difference in cross country because they haven't got a spike, but on the road, this new shoe, the Vaporfly 7%, It's making a huge difference to the amount of times, which is why we're seeing so many running these crazy times right now.
Well, there you go. Keep talking about technology. We got the drones, we got the shoes. I'm telling you, we've got it all on this broadcast here, and we hope you, the viewer, are enjoying yourselves.
I tell you, the shoes, it's shoot open.
Yeah.
It is.
Really?
It's shoot open.
Will they ever make rules for that? Of like, you know, you can't have these kind of shoes.
They met and they've tried to implement some rules, as we see. Sylvester Lopez still looking strong, but they've met, the IAAF met, and they're allowing these shoes, but what they're not allowing is new technology prior to Tokyo. So, you know, we have to stay tuned to that particular debate going on right now, because it is an advantage if you're a Nike athlete and you're competing against an athlete who's wearing Adidas. Then the Adidas athletes are at a disadvantage. As we see the crowds now, they're making their way over to the finish line, because we're coming to the top end of this race now, the business end of the race, and we're going to see now who's going to take this title.
Look at this. 1-2, this is it, this is it.
So Roaches pulls up alongside him, but Oliveira responds. What a response from Cruz. It looks like he's kicking hard. Cruz is...
Oh my goodness. Oh my
he caught it! Photo finish!
Oh, there we go!
Have you ever seen a photo finish? You've seen one now?
I've just seen it now. What a finish!
That was amazing. What a performance there from... I take my hat off to the Brazilian Oliveira Cruz, because, as I said to you, on paper he was slower. Rotic had the speed, and it looks like the Peruvian coming in from third. That's a fantastic run from him. And it was the two Americans in fourth and fifth. We'll just see if Dylan Maggott and hung on for that fourth and fifth place.
I know we're sitting down, but I only need the edge of my chair after that one. That was incredible. All the way through 1-2. We'll wait for official word for the timing clock.
Maybe Roches thinks he's got it.
It was very tough to say from our angle, from what we saw there. But what a spectacular showing from both these runners. We'll see the official word. I'm not too sure. Both happy with that run.
What I liked about Oliveira Cruz is that when Rotic came up on the outside of him, he responded really well, because it's such a short finishing straight. I know the viewers can't see this, but usually on a cross-country race you have a finishing straight of about 100 meters. This one had a sharp turn and then just about 40-50 meters, so there was no chance to respond. I think Rotic thinks he's got it. He's got the flag behind him, the cameras are on him, but Oliveira Cruz will be just as delighted. We've got two worthy athletes there. They left everything out on the course for themselves. Rotic versus Oliveira Cruz. What a race that was, what a climax that was to a wonderful day's racing. But it really was. We saved the best race till last. We saw Genevieve Lavon run away with it, but there we saw a 1-2 head-to-head, tete-a-tete, right through to the finish line. And who dug in and got there? Who opened their suitcase of courage and pulled out what they needed?
Well, I mean, if, here I'm sitting, this cross country, do we see a photo finish? There's your answer. Wow, that was incredible. And like we said, about 17, 18 minutes, those two were in the front. They stayed, nobody tried to make a move, no one tried to, they stayed side by side, basically for about 10-15 minutes there, this entire race, right up into the finish. And again, we're still waiting on official word from our time clock of who has this win, but man, it was a close one. That was incredible.
I think they both had little digs at each other during the race, especially that second half of the race. But I think what they both decided on then was, let's get onto the final hill, let's try and break away from each other. But again, look how happy Oliveira Cruz looks. That's a great performance from him. Second in his National Cross Country Championships, and maybe second today, maybe the win, but whatever, regardless, to be second in the Nationals in your own country, but to come away and step up to a different level and take on Rotic, who's a very class athlete, 5 times NCAA champion, and he took him right to the wire. What a performance that was.
Toe-to-toe, fantastic. We saw that earlier. You mentioned that right in our first race of the day when I believe it was Sadie Sigstead from Canada who finished third at the National Championships. She finished second on the podium today behind Brooke Rauber of the gold medal, and we've just got word we are still waiting on the official time, as I believe they're probably going to the cameras on this one. It was as close as ever. I mean, our camera saw a photo finish. They probably had the same idea at the finish line there. So awaiting official word. of the men's race winner here, and we will be going live with an interview to the winner here shortly with Chris Kelsog, who's standing by at the finish line. But for now, what an incredible race this one was, but just a full-on day this whole event was here at Bear Mountain. We saw some great races all day. We had great weather, a great turnout of a crowd, a great course, just not a shortage of good things to say about this whole overall event put on.
I think the meet directors and the committee will be absolutely delighted.
Translator with
I
us.
remember speaking to them 2 or 3 years ago when they first. Sorry to interrupt myself.
Yeah, for sure. We can come back to that here in a moment. So we are getting word. We'll see what the official times are, but. What we are getting word here is that the Brazilian Yonatis de Oliveira Cruz has won the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup for the men's elite race, and what a fantastic race it was. We have them standing by with the translator here. Let's go to Chris Kelsog at the finish line with our Brazilian winner.
All right, I'm here with Jonathan, the winner of the 2020 Pan Am Cross Country Cup from Brazil. I'm going to not butcher his name, so I'm going to get our translator to say his name for us.
Jonatas de Oliveira Cruz.
Okay, so for Jonathan, talk about the tactics that he rolled out with that big hill and the long flat stretches downhill. And of course, he had Mr. Rotich with him the whole time. What was going through his mind?
Eles querem que você explique qual foi a sua tática, principalmente nas subidas e quando estava plano, com o americano atrás de você, o que estava passando na sua cabeça?
Então, o tempo todo,
All the
a
time.
gente começou a correr em equipe.
They started to run as a team.
A partir da segunda volta, a gente sentiu o percurso.
After the second return,
E aí a gente viu quem estava mais rápido e fomos seguindo na frente.
they felt really hard and they felt that they were leading, so they just kept pushing it.
Na terceira volta, a gente vinha com os 3 brasileiros e liderando a prova, eu comecei a sair.
And on the third turn, or the third time around, he said they were leading as the 3 Brazilians, so he pushed harder to start leading on his own.
So apparently his coach said he didn't know where he went, but he went into the woods and trained, and he took care of business in the woods. So I wonder if you can describe what he was doing there and what kind of mileage he was putting in.
Seu treinador disse que não sabia onde você estava indo para a floresta para treinar. Eles querem saber o que você estava fazendo, como que você treinou.
Então, eu treinei num parque próximo à minha casa.
He trained in a park close to his house.
E simulando o percurso, subida e descida, grama, areia, locais acidentados.
Simulating the course, like hills and downhills and sand and gravel.
E com 2 meses de preparação, graças a Deus, com dedicação, carinho, a gente conseguimos atingir o objetivo.
He said after 2 months of really hard training, dedication, positivism, they achieved what they did achieve today.
Okay, final question. What's next for him, and is he trying to qualify for the Olympics for Brazil coming up?
Eles perguntaram agora qual que é a próxima competição para você. Você está tentando se qualificar para as Olimpíadas?
A próxima competição agora, alvo, é o campeonato Troféu Brasil Nacional. A gente vai treinar, que vai ser no mês 5. E com fé em Deus a gente vai conseguir um grande resultado.
His next competition now is in Brazil. It's a national competition in May. Yeah.
Congratulations and good luck in May with your trials.
Parabéns e boa sorte em maio.
Muito obrigado, agradeço a todos e que Deus abençoe a todos, que esse trabalho lindo e maravilhoso, quero agradecer a todos aqui, participantes, treinadores, colegas de equipes, atletas, e agradecer ao grande, imenso público carinho que tem lá no Brasil que torceu por nós. Agradeço a todos.
He said thanks to everyone, to the public here. They are very, cheering for them, and especially for the people cheering for them in Brazil. He said he had a lot of people there really just cheering for them, and yeah. He's really happy.
Obrigado.
Back to you at the booth.
Well, there you have it. The unbelievable thing of sports is heroes are made. Any given day, things like this can happen. And you said it, taking down a giant like Anthony Rotich, the young Brazilian. You could hear it. He's very happy with himself. Fantastic race. And you mentioned they were running a team race. They looked very strong right at the beginning. There was 3 Brazilians out in front, and of course, one of them coming in, taking it home.
And it was all about preparation. He mentioned it himself. He got a map of the course. He trained for 2 months on a course that simulated this, and it showed. This is a course that the form book goes out the window. It's not about times on paper. It's about how well you can adjust yourself to the complete change of momentum all the time. The pace changes the whole time. That's why it's suited to steeplechasers, just because of that fast, slow, up and down. It's takes a lot of the legs. The downhill sections can take a lot out of the quads. The uphill sections, you've got to kick off those. That's what he did, and he had something left at the end. We didn't know who won. It was such a photo finish, but he came round, he held on, and he outkicked the 3:59 miler. Good for him.
Yeah, it's very impressive here for them, and we will get official times coming our way here, so we'll tell you how close it was between your top 2, and these times we only go to the 100th of a second, and look at this, 32:50, 32:50 for both of those men. Fantastic. At that finish. So the exact same time to the 100th of a second. That means it came down to beyond that. That means it was that close. They had to really double check the timings to make sure. But as of now, the official ruling is the gold medal is going to Jonatas de Oliveira Cruz from Brazil, making that trip all worth it coming out here to Canada.
Absolutely, and they did. Their team event was well executed. They ran well as a team. They were probably shielding Diavolo Cruz for most of the way. It was a great performance. He looked really good. He looked really strong. And what a great climax to the racing here at Bear Mountain Resort.
So just looking at the official times, outside those 2 who finished with a time of 32:50, that was the Brazilian first, the American Anthony Rotich coming in second. It was Paul Ramirez of Peru bringing up the 3rd and bronze medal position. He came in at 33:11, so almost 20 seconds, or just over 20 seconds off those front 2 leaders. Just out of curiosity, as we come towards the medal ceremony, we will get a shot of that here. 20 seconds in cross country, is that time? How big is that? Is Paul Ramirez looking at this being like, I could have won this on another day?
No, that's a huge gap. 20 seconds. It's close to 150 meters, which is a long way behind. And on a course like this, on a flat course, 20 seconds is a lot closer than 20 seconds on a hilly course. I know that sounds strange because it's a same time gap, but on a course like this, 20 seconds is so much harder to make up. Just because of the hills involved, you're just not going to make up that time. So that's a chasm.
Well, there you have it. That just shows how dominant of a race those 2 ran. And going back to even just where Genevieve Lalonde, she won by a significant time margin as well. I don't have that right in front of me, but she ran away with it by more than 20 seconds. And that just shows those front runners are so dominant and were so dominant on today's course, on this really extremely hard course. The front runners proving to dominate in these elite races. So going back, just as a quick recap here, we are going to be getting the medal ceremony shortly, as well as your top male runners. Your times will be coming in shortly as well. But going back through the day that was for the 2020 Pan American Cross Country Cup here, coming from Vancouver Island, out in Langford, the city of Langford in Canada, broadcasting you live on CBC Sports. Looking back at the 4 races that we touched on. The first women race of the day, the U20, won by Team USA's Brooke Rauber, who came in at a time of 23:12. That followed up the silver medal, Sadie Sigstead of Canada, and Jennifer Melker of Peru, bringing up the bronze medal there. In the U20 men's, looking back at their race there, that was Corey, where do I have it? Corey Gorgas of the States winning that one with a time of 27:15, coming in the silver medal position. Also Team USA, Evan Bishop. And last but not least, another Peruvian on the bronze medal position, Alejandro Alania. So a good showing from Peru there, taking 2 bronzes in the U20s. And then on to the elite women. I do not have their sheet right in front of me. Let's go back to the men. Brazil, of course, that beautiful race we just saw that finished. Very strong showing there from Yonatis de Oliveira Cruz with a time of 32:50. There you go. You got your time up here for the men. Anthony Rotich of the States coming in that bronze medal position, and then Paul Ramirez well off the pace, but still Peru coming in for the bronze. So Peru, who sent a team of 18 runners here, coming away with bronze medals in the U20 women's, the U20 men's, and the men's elite. So what a showing from Peru.
They'll be absolutely delighted with that, coming to this Pan American Championships and coming away with those fine performances against some really world-class athletes here today.
Yeah, so stunning work from them, and just a great overall day as we get a good shot there of Anthony Rotich as we give out the medals here to our elite men's, and we will be coming to an end of our broadcast here, but if you've been tuning in live here on CBC Sports and Czech News, we want to give a big shout out to all of you who took the time to come in and watch this event, watch these incredible athletes put in the work and break a sweat here. Like I say, we got to sit and enjoy it here up in the media booth, but a very fine day, but a very tough course. And I will refer back to that quote from Brooke in that first interview. We're dying, but at least we're dying in a beautiful place. So
quote of the day.
I think that really sums up what we had here. A beautiful place, but a grueling course. And all these athletes, I mean, smiles all around. Cummings seems to go off without a hitch. What happens now? What does an athlete do now that a race like this, a tough race that they've been preparing for a long, long time, it's grueling, it's now done. What goes into the next steps?
So what happens now, we've got a beautiful hotel behind us, and they'll be having a great party tonight.
Oh, yeah.
They'll all be getting on with each other. The battle was out on the course. Now they'll be friends in the hotel. And that's a great thing about the race as well. When you've got international athletes coming in, they'll stay that extra night before they fly out tomorrow, get to know each other, have a chat, just relax and kick off. And then they'll go back to their countries and they'll go back into their next training cycles. For some athletes, it's about preparing for the Olympic Games. Let's hope they're on. You know, there is a doubt about them right now with the coronavirus virus, but let's hope they're on. So they'll be going away, going back to their cycles. Some will do some indoor racing, some will do some road racing, some will focus on a different training cycle without racing. So it depends on where they are, what sort of seasons they've had, but there's many ways of skinning a cat.
So now the party, what does it take for us media members to get involved in that?
That's it. To run on this course?
Yeah, no, to get into the party tonight.
I think we have to run on the course first.
Okay.
We'll do one lap.
Yeah, I don't even know if we could do that. You know, we watched that community race right from the beginning, and I was watching the people walk halfway
through. Okay, we'll walk the lap.
We'll walk it. There you go. That's it. You would burn me, Paul. I can tell you that much. My form wouldn't be on point. So you can see there are the medals being handed out for your elite men there up on the podium. That is the bronze medalist Paul Ramirez. You can see getting his medal from Peru. So congratulations, Paul. And there's Anthony Rotich. The silver medal being handed out. And man, I just am still reeling after that finish. It was an incredible finish, incredible race. And no matter whether you're a sports fan, a running fan, a cross-country fan, or just love competition, there was something for you on today's cast. Well, that was incredible.
How special must it be for Anthony Rotich as well? He just got his American citizenship last year, and now he's got a medal. Probably not the colour, but he looks just as delighted to be having that American flag, the stars and stripe wrapped over his shoulders. He must feel a proud American today.
Absolutely. What a story from him. And just what a day overall. A medal is a medal, regardless of what color it is. It's still something to be proud about. A lot of things to boast about for many runners today, but what a fine event it was. What a fine day it was. And what a fine partner I had up here in the booth. Paul O'Callaghan joining me. Thank you so much, Paul, for sitting in on this and helping out today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. It's been great to be here and involved in a sport that I love.
Absolutely. It was great having you on board, and for all of you viewers, thanks for tuning in. Myself, Graham Cox, the Roll Focus crew, bringing you the camera work today. CBC Sports and Czech News for broadcasting live. This has been the 2020 edition of the Pan American Cross Country Cup, coming to you live from Bear Mountain Resorts, all the way in Langford, Vancouver Island, in the country of Canada. We hope you have a fantastic day. Congratulations to all of the athletes participating in today's events. What a day it was. We will check on out as we wrap things up here from the media booth. That's it for us.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to be here.
Boom.